We've got some economic data, and we also had some massive earnings reports after the bell yesterday and before the bell today to get into. We'll take a look at the NASDAQ as well here. Here is the QQQ. Actually, right now, not really as much of a gap up as what we're seeing with the SPY. Currently poised to open relatively flat here, actually, on the NASDAQ. We'll take a look as well at the Dow. Dow actually also, much like the S&P 500, poised to open a little bit higher here. So nice look for at least two of the three major averages. Again, NASDAQ not looking bad, just looking relatively flat. There is a lot to discuss here in the NASDAQ that's moving lower. Some of these earnings names we'll get to in a minute. Before we get to that, let's go over some housekeeping. You got at 8:15 a.m. ADP employment change data. This is the monthly number, not the weekly number. So it's one we're going to be watching and delivering for you guys here from this desk. Forecast 65,000, prior 98,000. At 9:45 a.m., you're going to be getting the S&P Services PMI and composite PMI. Then at 10 a.m., you get the more closely watched ISM Services PMI number. In terms of comments from Feds and President Trump, not too much there. At 4:05 p.m., you get Fed's Cook speaking, and then at 4:30 p.m., President Trump speaking live from Las Vegas, Nevada. Let's talk here about some of the stocks on watch. Here is SpaceX, one of the aforementioned weak NASDAQ names here in earnings. This name is still hanging out near pre-market lows, the nice bounce off of that 110 level. Report actually reporting a lot of strong year-over-year growth, but investors not reacting too positively here to SPCX. AMD, meanwhile, CapEx way higher than expected for Q2. Q3 guidance a little bit tepid, but their actual report for Q2 when it comes to revenue and specifically data center revenue was incredibly strong. We had Eli Lilly, Shopify, Uber, a whole bunch of other names reporting before the bell today, and Nvidia got some love from Elon Musk during that SpaceX earnings call, and even with that announcement right before the earnings report. So good look for a lot of tech companies today, but maybe not so good of a look here for AMD and SpaceX. Good morning, Sharif. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Adair. Thank you. Six-fold increase in CapEx for SpaceX year over year. So that is an eye-watering number at a time where the market is not really championing excessive spending. So SpaceX down 11% here, as Adair mentioned. Disney also reported up a little bit less than 3%, kind of the same look with CVS. We got Novo Nordisk as well, up 0.84, and Eli Lilly really doing well with their earnings report, but a lot is looking down the line for Lilly into 27 and 28 with the release of retatrutide. The blockbuster drug will move the needle, according to analysts. We got Shopify absolutely ripping 25% here in the pre-market. Likewise with Upstart, up almost 12%. ANET up 11%. Kind of a different look here with Pins down 9%. Lucid continues to sell off after recovering somewhat from that headline that they were going to go public. 7.5% negative Adera, and PSKY here just flat 1%.
I want to talk about CoreWeave here quickly as well before we send it up to the guys, because CRWV did just get some news here. The company announcing they've secured a multi-year priority access to SK Hynix's Solidigm Enterprise SSD capacity for AI cloud platform. There were no terms that were disclosed for this deal yet, but good look here for CoreWeave. Again, this appears to be confirmed, so not a report. SK Hynix not moving on this at all, but potentially good look here for CRWV here. We did get a little bit of a pop. It's already given up that move, so keep an eye here on CRWV. And I want to know, for one, what Sean and Neil are keeping an eye on, because I have two symbols in mind that it could be, but let's hear more about it. Good morning, Sean, and good morning, Neil. Happy Earnings Wednesday.
Yeah, well, you got to keep it
because we're neutral. You know, we're neutral today. We're not sure if the market's going to go up or down. So we're wearing gray.
It is a kind of a weirdish feeling into the market. That CoreWeave not really.
Is it?
I pulled it up too in CoreWeave because CoreWeave, look, a lot of stocks were crazy yesterday. So if this one was going to get a chance to maybe go, you have a very mixed sentiment. Like you throw like that AMD good quarter, but then CapEx and Intel's down on sympathy, but do they have the same issues? Because what's interesting about AMD is they're not a fab, right? So for their CapEx going up, it's not really the same comparison to like an Intel, but they are down anyways. But oh my goodness, how about Shopify? 24%. And this isn't like, oh, it's up 10, 15%, and then it rallies more when the market's open. Like this sucker went up almost 30%, like just off the bat, off the jump. Like strong beat for them, strong guide as well. So there's a lot to watch. I mean, Lucid's in the dump. Uber, yuck. Well, it's not down that much. Uber's only down a few points. So that's one that's to the south side. Eli Lilly's an absolute banger already. So that one's starting to break back into the upside. It is a very mixed one. But if you just sort of focused on SpaceX and AMD, I mean, I wouldn't I wouldn't disagree if you came in thinking, oh, this is not too great. The market's actually, the Nasdaq's actually up 0.1, despite all of that. So there is enough of a mixed sentiment that it's an individual stock story today for sure. But disappointing. The reaction to AMD is disappointing, I would say, because when you think of the number, 800 million is. It wasn't.
Well, I mean, it wasn't horrible.
It's not a huge number. It's the fact that like the margins weren't growing, and I think the margins weren't growing, and it was such a shock. It was just much bigger than anyone was expecting. That's all.
I mean, you have to beat by a lot, and I think that's data center revenue 107%, year-over-year growth, which is amazing. SpaceX is not using their chips. Apparently, we found out about that, and they're going to be going with Nvidia, so that's not great. SpaceX is a huge future AI name. I mean, we can't deny what they're trying to do there with potential merging as well into Tesla. We'll see who that benefits. I think both of them can win on some sort of a talk like that. I just wanted to show right now Lucid. Lucid's actually one of the only ideas I have written down right now, and I have a short going for Lucid. I do think it's breaking the $7 mark. I mean, just because it's an even $7 is what I'm looking for on the breakdown. Maybe we get a bounce around 650, something like that. But I think Lucid, 24% year-over-year growth is fine, but they only pumped out under 4,000 cars. So that's not going to be good there. And they want to focus on, the customer and everything. So I'm not sure if Lucid's going to hang around, miss on the top and the bottom line, and potentially going lower there. And the thing is, you have a good out if you need it, around $8. So we'll wait to see what happens with Lucid. And then, we already paid for some shorts on SpaceX. And I don't know.
Lucid's pay for shorts too.
Oh, Lucid's pay for shorts. Okay, so we'll have to do that. But that's right. We knew that from back in the day. But SpaceX. I mean, it's bad. It's down 11%. You never want to see that. I mean, the problem is it ripped up into 130 as we stayed live last night and talked a little bit about the SpaceX earnings calls. We want to say thank you to everybody that stayed with us. But downside action there on SpaceX as we just have to wait. Starlink missed a little bit, 12 million versus I think it was 12.2. But then Elon came out and said that he's expecting basically the whole world to be using Starlink at some point. So that's the number they missed, Starlink. 12 million subscribers, or 12.2. So he was expecting the whole basically Western world and anybody that's connected to internet to eventually be using Starlink. So that's going to be obviously a big thing there too. And then talking about some of the compute power, it's wanting to build 15 gigawatts of compute power there to mix it up with XAI and then get back into Tesla and figure out what's going. I didn't even see what was going on with Tesla this morning, actually. 324. Okay, so that's downside a little bit there. I expect that to actually be lower. I mean, just with SpaceX reaction, I feel like Tesla should probably go lower, especially if there is that strong talk of a merge. And then the other name I wanted to look at was Intel fell back below as well. So sort of one catching a little bit of shrapnel there from AMD, I feel like. Down 3.5% and actually looking to go lower right now. We just talked about the hedge fund there. Oh man, I forget what it's called. Situational awareness there sold off many names. Yes. We did have a nice little rebound there. Unfortunately, today it looks like they are catching a little bit more downside trend there, even though the NASDAQ is still relatively positive here. As Adara said, the ES well outpacing it right now, up 0.42. NASDAQ just about green right now. But AMD's loss, I guess, is Nvidia's gain, and we've seen that turn around many different times before. It was, Nvidia was heading downside when AMD was taking market share. Today it looks like it may be the other way around. And then, of course, Eli Lilly, they're up 5%. So this name has been beat up again and, just trying to battle right back. And sometimes you get into some levels, right? I mean, this 1120, we've been bouncing off there. That little low there of 11, we never really got there, but it's a nice move higher. You still have a ways to go before we get back to the highs. We have Kevin O'Leary coming on today around 10:30, so we'll talk to him about, most likely, he'll be with Adara. Talk about some SpaceX up there.
Yeah, I mean, day after earnings, right? Like, we had a good conversation with him before the IPO, so
yeah,
it's going to be the hot topic. I understand, SpaceX, but I think the AMD quarter, what it did in terms of one of the only stocks being strong right now, Nvidia, and Shopify, but there's so many other names that are going to be out there. I'm with you on that Lucid. There's some things in the Lucid call that weren't even good either, but let's be real. We've gone how far, and we haven't mentioned memory? Did we even look at the memory stocks yesterday?
Well, today they're reporting.
I know that's sort of the thing. there was obviously they've been moving around and there's been a lot of volatility, but you look at DRAM went right into some resistance. You've got SK Hynix. They had a great and a gigantic report for themselves. They made a bit of a hard top, like a big double top yesterday, and pulled back. So they've got it down 3 points, right? And then Micron, obviously Micron, for a lot of people here, I guess like the bigger American company, same thing. Like it made a hard top at 900, couldn't get past yesterday's or last week's resistance levels as well, and that's down a couple of points in here. So like this is where you get that like, yo-yo in the market. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's recovering a bit. Remember when Amazon was down the other day? It's like, why Amazon? Why was Amazon the weakest of the Mag 7 names? And then you come in this morning to the chips being weak, and Amazon's up 1.5 points. No story. It's just, that's like the yo-yo. Like when you bring the chips and memory down and they just throw it into a couple of Mag 7 names, then those are the ones that are up, and then vice versa. So we're getting a little bit more of that. Amazon looks pretty interesting. It can hold over $280 here today. Let's go back up to the desk. Lots to cover.
I want to talk here about AstraZeneca, AZN on the move to the upside here. There's a report here from Reuters suggesting that there are no discussions between AstraZeneca and Bristol Myers Squibb, a senior source denying apparently all of these reports that these two companies were considering a merger. This source also apparently told Reuters that there was, quote, never a deal to be done between the companies. It's going to be a good look for AZN, which got hit pretty hard on the day that this merger was reported, if we go back a couple days here. So keep an eye here on AZN. BMY not moving nearly enough or with as much intensity, but keep an eye on both these names. Also, just be aware here, guys, we're getting comments from Fez Kashkari. Fez Kashkari, who, if you recall, was one of the 3 voting members to vote against the consensus of that rate hold at the meeting last week and actually vote in favor of a hike. He is saying, quote, I believe now is the time to start slowly moving interest rates up during an interview with CNBC. He also specified he's not calling for a dramatic increase in rates, nor is he trying to slow down the economy. He just wants to bring inflation lower. So this is coming from Crash Kari himself. Keep an eye on that. We do have, at this point now, a couple minutes to go until the ADP employment change. So we'll certainly give those to you. But in the meantime, I want to talk a little bit more Shopify. SHOP is absolutely going to be discussed during a rundown. So if you miss it here, you're going to hear about it again. But Shopify, Sharif, this was a massive move to the upside and solid report across the board for the most part. Yeah,
it was really good. Blowout quarter, revenue rocketing up 34% year over year, taking out $3.45 billion. But let's talk about, their GAAP net income. So it was quite stellar, but there is a one-line item we need to talk about here. So they printed about $1.5 billion in profit, but when you strip out $906 million of that, which is due entirely to their equity investments and things like, believe it or not, they have shares in a firm. They had warrants in a firm in Global E Online, that's GLBE, Klaviyo, Flexport, Stripe. These are all equity investments that they printed big on, and that moved the needle there for earnings. So something to keep in mind there as I just load up, sorry guys, this screen over here. All right, let's go on to Merchant Solutions because that rocketed as well, 84% year over year. When I say Merchant Solutions, I'm talking about payments, logistics, transaction fees that did very well. 84% of that $903 million was due to this one category. The also operating income really did well as a result of expense discipline. So they dropped their expenses by about 33 to 34% year over year. That helped accelerate that. And then the Q3 guidance, we saw this one really drop after the last guidance report or the earnings report with a weak guide. That was specifically not done this time. In fact, they're guiding, saying that they're going to grow in the low 30s for the next quarter, 30% quarter over quarter. So this should be an interesting quarter here for Shopify.
Yeah, really strong look there for SHOP, and again, a Canadian company there as well. We've got about 40 seconds at this point until the ADP employment change number, so we'll stay with you here, guys. Again, forecast for this print, 65,000 versus the prior print of 98,000. We're going to get some more economic data later today at 9:45 a.m. S&P Services and Composite PMI at 10 a.m. The more closely watched of these PMI prints, ISM Services. So it's worth noting we're expecting basically in line with the prior print for the S&P Services PMI, ISM Services PMI. Again, that's coming through at 10 a.m. That's expected to be a little bit higher than what we got last time. But without further ado here, just less than 10 seconds away from that July ADP employment change number. This is not the weekly print, guys. This is the one for the entire month. 65K is what we're expecting, and it's coming in at 44K. So lower than expected ADP employment change print for the month of July. Not too much of a market reaction on this, but worth noting again, 44K versus 65K expected. That's also going to be markedly below the prior print.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's not generally gonna be market moving, and what a market it has been. Just look at that SPY yesterday. I love. This is what you want to say. I always say, like, don't look at your long-term stuff when it's the other way, but when the SPY is breaking out, that's probably a better time to be able to look at it. Just going back to Shopify, that 30% projected that they want to grow. I mean, awesome. The crazy thing is it's up so much that there's no piece of the breakout that was so like 135 on Shopify for the longest while. Basically, the entirety of the year had been resistance, and then there's this one spot in January where you've got like the mid 40, 43, 44 level. If it tries to fill in some of the gap, that's the spot. I'm looking for that level on the daily. It's right back into VWAP. Obviously, it's doing relative volume today. You don't have to worry about that. Shopify is going to be in play. You would be like that whole line, the idea that the equity investments are going to give some of the bump to the current. I think that's offset to a certain degree to that good guide for Shop, but it is around that 143, 144. That's what I want to see hold. It's like 150. It already dipped into that. It's got VWAP, but we're trending back in. You lose that. Looking for 43 for a dip on Shop. Like the quarter. I mean, notwithstanding some of the CEO's comments on other stuff, you look past that, the business is doing fantastically.
Yeah, I was like, bank error in my favor. I looked down and realized I was still invested in Shopify, so that's a good one. Well, maybe we'll exit some of that there. A name I want to buy, though, today, I've been mentioning this for a minute, is going to be Intel. So, hopefully on this 3% dip, I think, I have an order pending, so we'll get filled off the open. And then we'll just take an Intel long. I like the stock. I like the packaging business. I like the, the foundry that they've got here in the United States. I like the computer angle with the CPUs. We do know that there was obviously, as we had just mentioned before, the situational awareness unwind that had happened in the market and, sold off probably not that a lot of these names were already. I mean, it still has a 79 PE. It's and that's a forward PE. So, it's not like it's that great there for Intel on the valuation side of things. I just think that, maybe right there is a bottom. You fall right into 80, and now you're taking off. So we'll see. If I believe that AI is still a thing, which I believe we're still very, very early on that trade, Intel GPUs has to get matched up with some CPUs. So I like that. I like the business moving forward here for Intel. So I think that would be a place where we talked about selling off some of our AMD over the last little while, getting into some other names. And I think Intel is a completely separate beast from the NVIDIAs and the AMDs of the world. They're not on the GPU side of things. So we can definitely have a look at Intel today. I feel like, I like that Shopify look. We talked about Lucid, and then I'm going to go right back to the well. Yesterday, I only traded two names, man. It was Palantir until we traded SpaceX. Near the end of the day, it was Palantir. We traded, I think it was Apple and Palantir. I can't remember, but one of them was definitely PLTR. And we hit that real early and real good there on that 150 breakout. So Obi came here last night as they were rehearsing on the after show there. And he mentioned if I was in Palantir, and I was like, hell yeah. And he's like, oh my God, you got 150. And I was like, yeah, it broke. It had that good sort of setup early yesterday in the morning where we had just gone back and forth for 5 minutes, and being patient for that first 5 minutes, it gave us that wick right there at 9:31 that it wanted to go to 150, but failed it. So then when it came back down, that gave me enough time to set up my order to push through. So the minute it did that, we got executed in.
We'll circle talk about Circle Internet.
I want to talk about
CRCL,
Ronaldo.
apologize for how tongue-in-cheek that is. Okay. Sorry, it's not working.
Should I try speaking here? Is it okay, Andre? Yep. Okay, so let's talk a little Circle here. Adara gap EPS of 18 pennies. That beats the 17 expected by the street, but it does post a much, much better year-over-year difference. They lost $4.48 last year, and now they're profitable to the tune of 18 pennies per share. That is a good recovery there. Revenue and reserve miss, though, these were keynotes in the earnings report. Revenue came in at $701.3 million. That is up 6.5% year-over-year, but it does miss the $712.5 expected by analysts, and the reserve income alone reached $667 million. Well, what is this reserve income? Well, it's the interest and the yield that is generated from the reserve assets that's backing USDC. You'll recall that they have to have a one-for-one asset for the USDC. So if you have $1 of USDC in circulation, you got to have $1 in treasury or cash to offset that. And they make money on that. It just doesn't sit there idly, generates income. So that's what they made money on there for. USDC circulation grew 19% year over year, but again, fell short of analyst expectations. But management maintains a long-term CAGR of about 40% circulation. And analysts see about $87.75 billion in circulation by the end of this year. We'll see if it happens. Also, the CEO had certain insights during the call. He really stressed that they have a federal bank charter and that they're going to launch ARC, this new, I guess, part of the company on public mainnet. That's going to come on September 16th. They also have their Coinbase partnership, which he stressed is still intact there. Should we send it back to the boys? Are we good with the audio or? Yes? No? No. Okay, so we'll continue on over here. All right, let's see what else we have on the hopper. Okay, so we talked about Circle. Let's see what else is moving on the morning. We also have PINS, which is down here 9.33% on the back of an earnings report as well. This morning, we can also talk some Nvidia, which was mentioned yesterday on the SpaceX earnings call, specifically Elon Musk saying that he's only going to use Nvidia chips and took to X to say that they are the best. And that, you know, it was very interesting on the day that AMD reported earnings as well. So something to think about there. Let's bring that in. We can talk a little bit about that. Just allow me a second over here. So Nvidia gained more than 2% of the pre-market. As I mentioned, Elon Musk saying SpaceX is going to build out its entire AI infrastructure exclusively using Nvidia chips, calling the company's Vera Rubin architecture, quote, the best. The endorsement, of course, comes out after SpaceX is they ramp up their AI infrastructure towards 10 gigawatts of compute, guys. Let's send it back to the boys.
Okay,
I think we're back there.
Can you hear me now?
I start mentioning a little something about Palantir there. Next thing you know, Alex Karp is freaking nuking our mics over here. But yeah, thanks for the patience.
Yeah,
thanks
appreciate it.
For all that. But yeah, no, I was going to say yesterday we absolutely went off on Palantir, right? I mean, a 30% move, one of the highest, moves Palantir's ever had post earnings. And, we talked about, that record sort of a day on their unworldly report. And, you took it out. So I want to go long again. I want to just stay long, the strongest names. And Palantir is one of them. So for me, that's that. I didn't even, because we were just discussing the mics there. Did anything happen? Wow, 383. What is all-time highs here for Google? We have 4 yet? Was that 4? Did we get that? Yeah, 408 we got back in the June highs or late May highs there for Google. So we had been up here before, and looks like we're getting there right now. Like what in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight up days? I mean, reminiscent of what happened back in early April, like straight to the upside again. So this is just absolutely mooning right here, Google. We'll see if maybe this could be another name, here that we
Google and Amazon look both of them look really good this morning in addition to Nvidia. But it's just to go back, I know Circle was talked about, and the bad news for Circle is it's moved full circle, unfortunately, so that breakout is gone. It's now not even up anything. 0.3% false break. Sorry about that, Circle, but it could get, maybe it gets going again. Certainly there's a possibility, obviously, but yeah, actually ticking back and forth, red to green. But it's those mags, Alphabet, that story not necessarily moving it here. It was up and gapped up overnight. I think it just comes down to like when AMD came out of, I don't want to say came out of favor with their spend, and then SpaceX. The comparison, when you look at what SpaceX is trying to do with cloud, and of course they're spending big time in CapEx and not generating revenues out of it, like that just makes you remember that Alphabet is, and that Amazon is. And they are well ahead, and they are playing in Microsoft as well. And there is some catch-up SpaceX is playing. Now, at the end of the day, SpaceX has a lot more in the future going for it than just simply saying, okay, access cloud computing and selling it and worry about the CapEx. But when you start making those direct comparisons, it starts to look a little bit more favorably for these guys. Ooh, I see a super chat up here. Let's get it up. We've got, it's Nick Dubs. Nick.
Yeah.
Morning, Nick. SoFi, great 5-minute setup for breakout. Palantir to 170. Palantir's got a 164 on the daily that can break out on Palantir again, too. What happened to SoFi in the aftermarket? I guess maybe down with some sympathy elsewhere.
Well,
wasn't really
Upstart was good, right? So I don't know. I don't really know why.
Why did SoFi go down in the aftermarket? It doesn't really look. It doesn't matter.
No.
It's the chart's the chart. It just I look at it and I get a little bit curious. But it's got a ton of like 19 to 20 chop resistance on this sucker. But if you look, when I look at it in the 15, like continuation, double top, I guess whatever happened in the aftermarket, because there was nothing. I mean, SoFi didn't have a story that I am aware of, so it had to be on sympathy somewhere else. You've got a good double top breakout here on SoFi. I wonder if I want to add that to the list. Like right now, I got like Lucid, Nvidia, SpaceX, Shopify, but I mean SoFi, that does look pretty spicy there, Nick. A good call out. Good call out for us at this time of day is always to jump over to Joey Options.
Yeah.
All right, good morning, guys, and welcome. A lot of activity from yesterday's session. Bless you, Neil, guys. Let's take a look at a name that went on a pretty good run yesterday, guys. We're going to be keeping an eye on this Friday's expiration cycle and this $220 strike price. Now, if we look at the open interest in the volume, once again, Ozan, we do have some concentration below this $220 marker. So if we head to 215, 210, these are already in the water, all right, guys? So what we want to look at is where is that next resistance zone? And I believe that this amount of supply can be absorbed at this 220 marker. Now, 31,000 contracts still currently open, and with volume around 40,000 open and closed, Elon Musk helped adding a little bit of a boost to the stock in the post market. I'm looking and I'm like, 216, beautiful stuff. So let's see if we can continue on the path that we currently are. And if you look at it from a daily standpoint as well, too, we are above a key structure. So let's see if we can get the continuation within the bullish price action. Now, guys, within the bid and the ask, $3 spread, nothing crazy. We know that this is a hyper liquid name, so we're not going to have any issues in forms of liquidity. Now, as for our delta, this is out of the money, but you will see an increase in the options premium after the open, all right, guys? And with that being said, your delta will increase as well. So as for our gamma exposure, relatively cool, will be greatest at the money. And our Vega, sitting around 5 cents or so. I don't expect too much of an uptick in our implied volatility, so you won't see too much of a drastic change within this Greek metric here, guys. Now, moving forward, let's actually take a look at this at this specific contract, the 220 contract. It's insane. You don't often see this in NVDA, but you get 627% from the open all the way to the highs here. It was almost worth nothing, $15, and then closes around $1.06. All right, guys? So that's a level that I'm going to be keeping my eye out on here for NVDA, and if we surpass that, I'm going to be looking for that next zone of supply, and that may take a week or so until we have the ability to identify that, all right? Moving forward, let's take a look at the following contract, AMD. $480, all right, guys? So we're hovering right around this neck of the woods. But once again, I mentioned this yesterday, it's become more expensive, and with that, the derivatives volume has really started to dry up in the liquidity, I should say. So now, as for this 480 marker, we're gonna look for a potential base here. I just don't know if we decide to sell off a little bit, if this supply is going to be enough to act as potential support levels, all right? So let's keep an eye on 480, and if it gives way, which I believe we were trading around 478 in the pre-market, If we continue to move to the southeast, then this may not play any form of a factor into holding up at support for this name. Now, as for the volume sitting around 3,800 contracts open and closed on yesterday's session. Now, note this, it's already relatively expensive, so you have to take into consideration the fact that it hasn't been priced in with the drop that we experienced in the post-market. So the premiums are going to increase, and you can see our delta sitting around 21. That will be greater once it's at the money, so there will be an increase there. Gamma exposure, light, that will increase, and then your Vega as well, sitting around $14, guys. That's pretty expensive right now. We do see an uptick in implied volatility, but again, let's focus on the contract itself. Now, from the 29th of June, to where we're at now, it's lost the majority of its value. This was sitting around $6 or so. Now we are trading at around $9. You can see where we're sitting on the bid. But this is really questionable, and I mentioned about liquidity issues with this. I do expect this to tighten up a little bit, but there will be an increase, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see this specific contract turn into the double digits. Let's send it back. Let's keep an eye out on this 480 level and 220 here with NVDA and AMD respectively. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
Thank you, Joe. And I'm going to read the headline as it is for digital brands. Yeah. But I'm looking at it, and even I have questions on this digital brands story. So there's an insider who has made an offer for digital brands, and I see three separate sources, $77.58. Now, obviously, that's almost 4x from where this stock is closed. You don't typically see any kind of like a cash offer to take a company private that is that kind of a premium. I don't recall ever seeing it. I mean, you've seen a 70%, 80%, sometimes maybe even like 100%. It is moving up on this news, and it probably will do some extra volume here today. But like, I'm half of my mind, I'm waiting for someone to come and say, oh, well, that's an incorrect price. We got a typo there. But that's what it says. The Digital Brands confirms it has received a proposal, $77.50. I can put it on screen. Acquisition from current shareholder board to review the proposal. No decision yet. I mean, that is a wild one. So congratulations if you happen to own Digital Brands Group, but that one is moving precipitously. As far as, AMD is very sideways this morning. For a stock that's down 8%, it's really just holding on to the line. I mean, the good news would be that it's held that bottom, but this 470, it's not SSR. That's the thing. It's not down 10% where you're like, okay, well, the uptick rule goes into effect, and you look for that immediate reversal type play on AMD. And the daily doesn't really favor it as being at a great level. It's one thing when you've got something which is gapping down for a bit of a move and you're looking for that relief rally. Well, AMD, on the other hand, it's a bit of a head shoulders look. You get the 50 that just lost here after a big time run in the last week, and it's sitting in the middle of no man's land. Like, it's a bit of a weird one for AMD because I don't see this one. I'm not thinking SSR bounce on this one at all, just given where it was. It'd be a different story if it was like down around a support level or something. But it's a 10% away from support, local support anyways for AMD and that Digital Brands. I feel like if that gets close enough to the low 20s, it might just be worth a spec buy.
Maybe. I mean, there might be some truth to it. Who knows, right? I mean, that's part of it. It just
seems wrong to me. It could be right. It just seems wrong.
Sometimes things that seem wrong are just so right. Yeah, and I don't know what's going on here today. I said, good morning, traders. I hope everyone's having a great start to the day. Let me guess, SpaceX and AMD on our minds, but no, AMD's on nobody's mind, apparently. Daisy says, what up, what up? We say, what's up to you, Jay? Always Intel and Nvidia. And I responded to all of these. You guys can come over and check it. Oh, I've got enough. Okay, this guy here. What's up, Jay? This guy's got, $20 average. Bang. Right there. So that's the kind of in-depth responses I'm giving. But there it is, man. So that's a good one there. Intel. SpaceX also. Take me to Mars, says Adele, but his portfolio is going into the Earth's core. And I said, yeah, you know what? Let's watch out. I responded to them. Let's watch out for that 110 level there on SpaceX. Sticky note is now out. Kurt's handle there wants to look at Microsoft and Amazon going higher. I agree with that. Here's a new one, SoxL and Eli Lilly, man. We like that one from South. And then Gavin, Amazon, Nvidia. And then here we go, Sharif, Amex there. A little shorter from yesterday, Auto Mix. We'll talk about that, but he's looking at 1550 short there as well. Oh, speaking of the devil, we are ready with Luis and then NASA and SLV and space. coming through there. So I want to say thank you to everybody. If you want to give your input, you can check it out. Go get into the chat first of all. If you're not part of the chat, then we're not going to be able to see questions for Luis. So you want to make sure you get into the chat there. If there are any small cap names, put them in. We have a little bit of ammo there to talk about as we go on. But here, AMIX from yesterday, probably a runner that Luis was trading. Busted out into $20, I believe, in the after hours or just before the market opened up there, and then closed. So this was right at 3 o'clock. We really started to get going. A couple halts. We didn't halt at all from 1 o'clock basically to 3:30. Then the party started, and then in the aftermarket, we started to come back down in. But look at this, man. We're right at another level where the get up started yesterday, $12.50. $13 for AMIX. So, all right, without any further ado, let's throw it back over the desk and talk some small caps.
Let's talk some small caps with our friend Luis Barbeda, all the way over from Barcelona, Spain, day trading. So good to have you with us. Good morning, Luis.
Good morning, Alara. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you doing today?
We're doing good. Pretty active market after the crazy run yesterday of AMIX. So we have a lot of stocks moving this pre-market. It's good for us.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you, I was looking at a lot of these penny or these small caps today, and a lot of them actually did end up being penny stocks. I know you don't always trade these, penny stock type tickers or sub 10 cent type tickers. I do have a question for you about a couple that might have been on your radar. Just curious if you were looking. We had this on Folio Holdings. This one went up as much as, that 16.5 cent looks like area, dumped pretty aggressively. Is this the type of name that you would be shorting pre-market, or is this a little bit too inexpensive to be on your radar?
Well, I'm not expert trading this below dollar or even, I would say, below 70 cents. It is true that with the new regulation, the new MVLS, with the 5 million market cap, we are having a lot of these stocks of 10 cents, 20 cents, 50 cents running up. Why? Because from 22nd of July, they have 30 days to trade over 5 million cap. It's not only the bid price of $1 nowadays, it's also the 5 million market cap. So I checked yesterday, we have around 240 companies trading below 5 million market cap. You know what? Yesterday, there were like 50 of them moving up over 20, 30%, 100%. So it's first try. They have 30 trading days to go over 5 million market cap. So I think we will have to add, because this new regulation, some of these tickers to our trading list, tradable stocks, because there will be a lot from these days. Look, if there is 200 stocks getting out of the NASDAQ and going to the pink city, it's a lot. So I guess many of them will try to, get over this new regulation.
I want to ask as well here. I know you're mostly trading small caps, but I know you trade the occasional, name in the larger cap tech space. Given, we have AMD and SpaceX earnings last night, they're both reacting pretty intensely. Are either of these names that you'd potentially be watching today? And if so, how would you be looking to play them?
Well, I shouldn't, because I'm not good at it. And one of the strengths of a trader should be to focus on what he is better. Yesterday, I tried Palantir. I tried some fading in the NASDAQ that it didn't happen. Yesterday, we had a crazy day, 3.4, 3.5% up. So actually, I'm going to try to avoid all these stocks because it's not my expertise. We tried the ETF of Shopify this morning when the earnings came out. Just a quick trade short there when we saw Shopify stopping the trend. But we try to focus on the small cap because we have an edge there. We have the floats, we have the VWAPs, we have the news, the backtesting data that we use. So we try to focus there.
Yeah, very well said. I actually have a question for you. Someone in our chat here, Tisha Perkins, who I know trades small caps, just tagged me and said YXT. This company looks like it's called YXT.com. Sounds like you're familiar with it. Is this one that you had any trades on? Because it's certainly one some of our audience is looking at.
Yeah. This is one that we are looking. Many things to say about this one. First of all, it's a Chinese company, okay? So, it can get very crazy and volatile when it's Chinese, and it's very low float as well, okay? It's a 20 million float. It's not like nano float, tiny float, but it's very low float. And I was trying to long here in this consolidation around the $4. I think someone in the chat said 640 is the 200 EMA, the exponential move rate. So I was long there, holding VWAP was a nice long there. And when it broke this 8, I started to short. I took a small loss here. We are shorting again because even though it's Chinese, tiny float, now that it seems that it backside, look, this company has 100 million shares to raise capital, to do an offering at the money. So if it happens and you're short it will dilute the stock. It will probably go down to 3 again. If the company has 20 million shares float and they have the ability to raise capital for 100 million shares. So if they do for the whole capability, it will go like very, very low the price.
Well, I know you mentioned just at the start that you guys are having a pretty busy pre-market. Are there any other names that you're watching today that you want to let the viewers be aware of here?
Yeah, for example, I traded this SETGYL. I lost money on this one. I was totally wrong. Look, we have a crazy movement up last night from 180, 190 to 380. And I thought, because this has quite crazy history, criminal record, look at this from 2 to 5, and we have some other even more sharp. There you go, from $4 to $12. So when you see this historical chart, it might happen that it go crazy on the movement up. It's also, I think, Chinese low float. It has everything, right? So I thought with this volume at this time, I was gonna break VWAP and go to new highs. And sometimes you're wrong. It was what we call VWAP rejection. It failed against VWAP and all the way down. So 2 setups here. It could have worked the long here, breaking VWAP, going to pre-market highs and flying to $5, $6, $10, or it could work the VWAP rejection that it was what happened there. But very interesting one. And talking about VWAP rejection, we had another very clear one on this one. Look, okay, we put in 1 minute, and look, it went up. Pre-market just when right off the gates, when the pre-market opens, go down, and there you go. A nice couple of entries short side with very, very tight stops. So those 2 we traded, and of course, AMX. Okay, what a stock yesterday. And guys, we are more short biased, but we are open-minded. So yesterday we saw this trading breaking the previous day's resistance here on $5.50, $6 from, I think it was 3 or 4 days ago. Okay, it broke. It was consolidating for a long time, and when it broke those levels, look, it went crazy trading about pre-market, about the other day's highs, about VWAP, about everything, and with overhead resistance was very, very far. Look, broke those levels, and we could have gone to 24, we could have gone to 30. So we were, I think I have it here, I was trying to long that stock yesterday. Look, I was trying to long the consolidation. I'm not very good holding the longs. I have more skills holding the short when we are backside, but trying to scalp long, trying to learn from Sharif.
Yeah, that sounds great. And speaking of Sharif, I know he and Joe are going to be here with you at 1 p.m. on this show. So guys, this is not the end of Luis today. You will see him at 1 p.m. on the midday with Joe and Sharif. Luis Barbado, Day Trading. You can often find him in our chat. Thanks again for being here with us this morning, Luis. We'll see you this afternoon.
See you later. Thank you.
Take care.
All right, guys, make sure you join us 1 p.m. sharp. Luis will be joining Sharif and I, talk a little small cap game and maybe get a little bit more into the larger caps. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to kick things off with some downgrades. Now, we're going to have a price target being lowered by Piper Sandler, but first things first, we're down 10 3/4 here. A neutral weight rating on SpaceX, guys, reporting yesterday after the bell. A lot to go over with this name. We'll be talking about it throughout the day. Now, as for Piper Sandler, the number of tradable shares, yes, we know this, a bunch of locked up shares will be released here, increasing the float by over 140%. That is reason for concern here, the firm states. Now, full year 2027 CapEx will likely increase to $17 billion, higher than expected. So Piper reducing its price target to $140. That is down from $156. Moving forward, Advanced Micro Devices, despite being negative here this morning, we're going to have an overweight rating and a price target increase to $700 from Wells Fargo. That is actually up from $615. The firm also noting AMD now sees substantial revenue growth here above prior targets. So that's a reason for this specific increase. Now EPS significantly exceeding the $20 per share in fiscal year 2029-2030. Moving forward, we will take a look at an additional upgrade here. Arista Networks reporting after the bell as well too. Wells Fargo giving them the nod and increasing their price target to $255. That's up from $200. And we're having an overweight rating here, and we're 11% to the top side. So not a horrible look whatsoever here on ANET. Now the firm also noting Arista sees 40% year-over-year revenue growth, well exceeding its previous 30% expectations, extensive efforts to increase supply, and a strong demand backdrop. That is the reason for the overweight rating and the $255 price target. Once again, up from $200. We're up 11% here. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
Thank you, Joe. Love the upgrades and downgrades. So obviously, not a shocker you're going to find AMD.
I just have one little beef. I know you got to do a read here, but like
we got?
The downgrades are all red, but the upgrades are just white.
Well, we noticed that.
So it's like, I was like,
yeah, green text maybe?
Okay. It's like I'm getting like emotional damage.
It makes sense.
I was like, oh my God, that SpaceX is all red. It's like okay.
Red text, when it's something negative, does really sort of hammer it home. Let's be real about it. I think the green would be a nice little offset. But you know what? We see it in the chat all the time, everybody. You got a good read, you got a good setup, but you got the wrong size. So you've got the skills out there, but your count might just be too small. And trade funders change that. 100K for stocks, 25,000 for options, and you get it today. You keep 80%. Or paid out every Friday, and you're not risking your own money. You get $9.99 to start, and you're refunded on your first qualifying payout. You can start within an hour, no evaluation or background checks. Just you and the size that you've been missing. So scan the QR code you see on the screen. That's tradefunder.com, where you can choose stocks or options, everybody. And well, maybe the DBGI is just what it actually broke $42, believe it or not. Nick Dubs, one more. Thoughts on Dell long 475 breakout? Dell was the example used, I believe it was probably last week. Well, for many things. One of them was whenever SMCI got asked out. But the other one was, when things are in an upward trend, buying support on uptrends. And now, all of a sudden, it is poised for a good sized breakout. I think the perspective when you look at a breakout like this, sometimes you look at it in like the higher time frame. And this is where it absolutely hammers home. Like, to get a parabolic move like it did on the weekly and then hold the high through all this volatility. Like, this is very, like every single week it was basically a chop. There was a couple of, like consolidated weeks, but most of it is a pretty big chop. We were talking about 10, 15% in both directions for it to eventually break out here. Now, obviously, it's not. We're at 63, so we're not breaking that today. Like yesterday, it kind of false broke that top yesterday. So you're still very much within the range. Like this weekly candle, if we end up closing down here at 430 or underneath 430, it's going to look like a lot like the rest of them. But the breakout is setting up, and as long as it can hold on to the bottom end of the range, I think dip buy is good. The break happens when it happens. It's so much better.
This is
than
SMCI. No insider trading here.
All insider trading.
Tango bingo. My brother-in-law is a sales guy at Dell. What's up, Tango Bin? He just spent $300,000 renovating his patio.
That's not insider trading. That's just good observation.
Maybe he used like gold, gold bars there to lay the foundation. There, his patio. I knew
the patio, huh?
Yeah, patio. So that's interesting. I mean, that's the price of many houses there. So we want to say a big shout out to that. And of course, it's not insider trading, but yeah, that's interesting there. So thanks for that one. And there you go. That's an insert. I mean, we always talk about doing line, channel checks.
Yeah, that's a channel check right there.
You go to the Apple store, you see what the channels look like. You go to Walmart, Target, see if there's anybody in there. Things like that. I wrote down here on the note today, SpaceX 110 long, just to see if there is a bounce level there, because I do believe, and I don't want to catch a falling knife, which is what I was talking about there. Let's wait till it breaks below and then back over top, and we can catch it going the other way, right? And so don't want to sit here just in case there is going to be a bunch of, selling, obviously, at the open. Not that this lockup hasn't happened yet. It's August the 6th. We got to tomorrow when all these shares come unlocked. But at the end of the day, I still think there's a chance this name gets bought up. I mean, I'm not sure that if I was an insider and was in on early shares, if I would, and we're going to have Kevin come on. I just want to hear, because last time we had talked to him about it, and he said I don't think he wasn't taking the allocation. So we'll see if he did, or I don't know. We'll see what the story is, but where he is on this name. But I was thinking to myself, like, if I was involved in this name, would I sell at this price? It's like, would that, investor in Dell there, or an employee in Dell, when Dell had that huge move down that we were just sort of showing, it wasn't huge, but, do you sell at the lows, or do you continue to believe in the name? So that's the thing. A lot of these traders where the shares are going to get locked up are going to be some of those early investors that have probably already gotten some out, either in private funding or even on the way. I mean, not every single share has been locked up. The other thing too is that why you're well under now. You're under 20% under the IPO price of 135. So maybe not 20%, but if you get a little lower, is that time to sell, or potentially just the ebbs and flows of the IPO market? And it's just, I'm just wondering, like, if you do work there, and I don't know if anybody in the chat here works at SpaceX or not, but what is the feeling like there amongst employees? Like, is it something where they believe they're a little over their skis, or is this party just getting started? So I don't know. Like, if it was me and I had 1,000 shares, or I don't know what people will have there on unlock. If I sell 200 of those shares, because I'm trying to make a little bit of profit there tomorrow, I don't think that affects the stock. But if it's 200 times, 1 million people, then you're going to have a problem. But at the end of the day, I still think SpaceX has some upside there. We will discuss the quarter, obviously, as we go. Make sure you do get the watch list. The watch list has been reformatted. A lot of positive talk about that people have emailed in. So we want to say thank you to that. So go grab the brand new formatted watch list, and I can actually
keep the feedback coming in. That's
I'm going to give you guys a little bit of a sneak peek.
I love the new format.
Yeah, this is what it looks like right now. So again, just a little bit of a morning market setup. So just brief little indications of what's been happening with the dollar, with gold, Bitcoin, oil. So it just gives you a little bit of a quick market rundown there, the early setup, and then we just get right into sectors. So AI, just to talk about what some key areas would be with some tickers. So these aren't necessarily all stocks that are moving around. These are stocks that would be reacting to, whatever these stories are right there, like including Caterpillar, like Honeywell, Deere, right? So we're talking about the global appetite there. So global S&P, you're looking at global names that are part of everything there. And then the pre-market stocks that are trading higher and lower, right? With a little bit of talk in there. Pinterest, minus 8%. And then we have to talk about all the stocks that we want to be looking at, right? SpaceX, AMD, all that. And some of these percentages will be a little bit off because this list is made an hour ago or earlier. So you got to be careful with what the levels are there. Disney hadn't reported. We'll figure out what their report is. I just heard that.
Looking pretty solid.
Yeah, they actually just came out and said that they had a much better than expected run on, because they started covering NHL hockey, and so they got a much better outlook on NHL and NBA basketball playoffs.
They're doing a deal with TikTok content creators. It's back above $100. There's some, I don't know, Disney doesn't look half bad if we hold $100 here today, at least for a short-term run. It just never seems to do anything for too long. But I want to get to the super chat here. We have, I don't know what currency that is, JNH.
Maybe Singapore, SGD? I don't know.
That sounds right.
I don't know.
Buy the dip on Advanced Money Destroyer or wait. See, now about the nicknames, like I get an ironic nickname. That's fair enough. But like, remember, Advanced Money Destroyer was a nickname we came up with when that was downward trending. What, like 2 years ago?
Yeah, it was just kept on going lower, lower every day.
It hasn't been that. I thought we had moved to like it was something.
It was
duplicator. So maybe, like, I don't know. Does that top mean it's going to be a money destroyer? I was saying it looks like it's diddling completely in the middle right now on AMD, and would seem like it has a little bit more run before you test what's been some really good support at the 420 to 440 level. And I don't know if that was, okay, there we go. The 420 to 440 level. So the old 3-day rule I think applies here. It's very much in a bit of a no man's land territory, but it's also under the 50 period. Some of the names that it dipped, like they were coming into, they had come off the highs a heck of a lot more. AMD didn't fall off the highs as much as others, and you go into the print having already gotten a pretty decent bounce back. What do we got? Anthropic confirming plans to build in-house AI chip team.
Yeah, so
the whole in-house thing, there's another level to look at that. We keep talking about it with, hyperscalers. Everyone wants to make their own chips. Wait till they start spending on the glut in memory. Like, you know how much cash these guys all have? Like, at some point, if the memory thing drags on too long, the solution is going to present itself from the hyperscalers, where they just get together. Like, I don't know, they could literally just get together and just start building out themselves. But anyways, it doesn't seem like that's moving much of anything here. But AMD, to me, no man's land, give it the 3-day rule. Much prefer that, like, low to mid 400 support on it, because we've already bounced so heavily before the report. Like, that was just an insane day last week.
Yeah, you want to look at some of the, the chip makers that might be affected by that. It doesn't look like Broadcom's really doing too much to that report there. We looked at something like a Google on that report. Not much going on. We know that Amazon, some of these other names are trying to build in-house chips as well. But as Neil mentioned, the chips is one thing. It's getting those machines, the LAMs, the ASMLs, and all that to build the actual product themselves. You got to watch out, because memory is what it's all about right now. And we've even heard from Apple, and that's part of where Apple's downstream comes from, is that they're worried about the cost of goods, and the products and the parts of some of the parts that go into the iPhone, the MacBook, the Mac Minis, and all that. And are they able to pass that on to the consumer? If not, then will this next cycle, the 18, the foldable, all this, products that they have a new Apple Home product as well, like that's going to use, most likely, I don't know what exactly the extent of hardware that's going to have, but that's all going to be part of it. So this downward sort of trend there, and I think it's good for Anthropic. And Anthropic is Amazon and Google. That's why I sort of called those two names up. I mean, Anthropic and Amazon and Google are the largest public names invested in Anthropic. So, as that comes to market, Amazon booked the largest booking, I think it was $58 billion or something ever for a corporation on their Anthropic investment. So they've already booked that. So, that's already in the name right now. So when they come to IPO, I mean, they'll have a little bit more profit, because I'm assuming it's going to come at an extension of its value. But yeah, there goes Amazon upside on the largest ever booked profit on a public company's ownership of another privately held name. What's up, DJ Vinny? He's here. We really like that. Oh, DJ Vinny, there is 1962. Good year. Yeah, we're just going to look here. Everybody that's part of our chat, right? We have this consolidated chat feed. We want to make sure that everybody is part of this. So whether or not you're on YouTube, you get that little YouTube button beside you, or TikTok will show up as well. Sharif's Bender is on there as well. So Sharif's on a Bender. That's good to know. Mike P. DeRider is there as well. I'm seeing like multiple accounts, Mike, so I hope everything's okay today. Juan Padilla there as well.
Four.
Yeah, Notorious Dinkelberg, everyone. There's Amare. What's up, Amare? You've been here from TikTok, I think from day one. Ethan, a new member. I'm going to sneeze, but thank you to everybody. There's Yeti. We finally found a Yeti. The Yetis have been, mistaken for a very, very long time. I believe they're in the Adirondacks somewhere, rolling around. We probably do have some Canadian Yetis and Sasquatches as well moving around. And of course, a lovely Yeti cooler also is a good thing to have.
Great investment.
But yeah, hi everybody.
Yeah, don't want to plug them, but it is a fantastic
Yeah, Yeti's been good. Yeti's been good.
Look, I love ours. It's unbelievable for camping. And lo and behold, hey, who knew? Just for what's and giggles, it even has a good looking chart. So
Yeah, it's amazing.
We like that. It's a great looking company. But we're getting into 9 o'clock. Sean was mentioning our awesome free watch list with the new layout, the new format. So keep all the positive feedback, all the feedback. It doesn't matter, positive, negative. There's something that you're like, oh, I like this change, but could you do this, or should this be better? Yeah, let us know. Like it's about the viewers, and you guys are, you're our sort of litmus test for everything. We're gonna get back up to the desk. We're gonna talk a little bit of futures. We're gonna get into that rundown. Lots to cover going into the open. You've got small cappers moving, a weird deal for digital brands that probably is Fugazi, but I have no idea. Shopify still looking pretty amazing here, and then of course, the 2 weak ones, AMD and SpaceX, but the market's still fine.
S&P over the last couple of days, 771 1/3 is where we closed out yesterday, guys. We're above that right now. We're knocking on the door of the next resistance level. I'm thinking 775. We're already showing 774.86. So look, we may clear this resistance level before the bell even rings, but we're going to look at 775 as resistance. If we clear that and clear it decisively, we're looking to the next $5 level, of course, 780. If we sell off, we're looking at 770. But I mean, there is a bit of a way down here between technical support. We're looking essentially at 760. That's the flat top that we couldn't break from before we really rocketed up. So 775, resistance level 1, 780, R2, and then 770 Adara, support 1.
Right now, you can all support us by checking out the Trader TV Live free watch list. What is on this watch list, you may ask? It gives you info on what names have reported, what names are going to report, any economic data in focus, any big stories, any stories that could be on watch going forward. It's a lot of info that you need to tackle the day and the week, and you can use either the URL to just flash by you on the screen, or you can just hit the link in the description. Probably easier. Either way, it is FREE free always for you guys. Let's kick off here with Dr. Lisa Su and AMD. AMD, rough look for the stock, but actually in some ways a very strong report. You had really strong data center revenue. Main issue that I saw was potentially some guidance and the CapEx for this quarter that just happened here, Sharif.
Yeah, it's always the CapEx. It's been the CapEx for a lot of these guys lately. The market does go through its cycles. It champions CapEx, then it frowns upon it. We're in one of those phases where we're frowning upon it for the moment. But let's talk about their earnings report. Q2 delivered stellar results, 11.5 more, in fact, $1 billion of income. That's up 50% year over year in their data center segment, which is just a euphemism for their AI division, also really grew pretty aggressively. But let's talk about this Anthropic deal here, because it came as a surprise. So AMD, they did secure a landmark deal with Anthropic to deploy 2 gigawatts of the MI450 GPUs, and they're also going to be using the Helios rack. They're also going to be using ROCm, which is that's AMD's version of CUDA. And the beautiful part about that is it's open source, so you can build upon it. CUDA is not. So that's the key differentiator here. Gaming revenue absolutely collapsed, dropping 31% year over year. It now only accounts for 7% of the company's top line. You can tell what they're focusing on here, and they don't really care about gaming. But that did drop pretty aggressively, $779 million, due to what they're saying is tumbling semi-custom console demand, which really hasn't recovered since the pandemic. So good look here. I can go on more. MEXT for memory optimization. That acquisition is going to definitely help them with some margins as memory continues to keep going up. And their embedded segment also grew up 19% year over year.
How are you guys feeling about advanced micro devices this morning?
You know what? I'm not that thrilled on it and psyched about it. Like, one of the stories that also came out for AMD was it wasn't an AMD story specifically. It was when Elon Musk said they're going all Nvidia. So that obviously you juxtapose that with the fact that the story we'll talk about, I guess 2 next. I thought it might have been next with SpaceX is their CapEx is only increasing, right? And actually at a faster rate than their revenues. And if they're all about Nvidia, well, who does that come at the expense of? So it was like another thing that you could, I don't know, like stick a knife in the gut of AMD there. Okay, fine, maybe I went too far with that one, because it's not all that bad. But no, I think it's like ultimately most of it was good. It was the CapEx and it was the Nvidia story. And I think it has more to do with the fact that it was so relatively close to the highs and have been doing so well and was a ramp job, and it's just a little bit easier to fall into those circumstances. Like imagine it wasn't a double-digit mover yesterday. We're not going to be down 8% on that report. Like if it had been like a 2 or 3% kind of up day, no one would be saying much of anything. But because you had that much to give back, you effectively just filled in the gap. And we're right back to where we were for a lot of Monday on AMD, which puts it in a bit of no man's land. I look at the other side of that, the Elon Musk comments there with Nvidia. Like Nvidia trend up. The 200 breakout on Nvidia to start out the month on Monday. Continuation trend day yesterday. It's got some prior highs to be able to dip into. The close 212, and then we've got this 213 area, which also sort of coincides with this gap. And maybe the baton is passed for a little bit here, and someone's got to take it to the next leg. And right now, Nvidia is breaking out a level, and AMD is kind of stuck where we were on Monday.
Look, if someone can explain to me why I should pay 5 times for AMD than I should for Nvidia, then we'll pass the mic off. But it's like AMD's P is 170, Nvidia's is 30. So it's just a matter of like why. I don't understand why anybody would even be looking to buy AMD at these prices, to be honest with you. I mean, I think the much better name, and I'm still in Nvidia, I'm still in a little bit of AMD, but I was really happy to get out, near, in and around some of these highs. The average price was about 520, and we could get right back up to there in a couple of days. It's just, I look at the valuation and I think to myself, like, it's just 5x what Nvidia is. I don't see it, and it's been a great ride up. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we've made, it's been great, and we like the stock, but I think it'll be underneath the 50-period moving average for a while now. But we'll give it a go, man. I mean, there's nothing. I don't think the report didn't give us any sort of a shock. I don't think at all. I mean, down 7%. We've seen, Google was down huge and rallied right back up off their report as well. We've seen what Microsoft did. You just need to turn on the switch, and this stock goes right back to where it belongs, probably, or where many people think it belongs, back up to near all-time highs again. I look at it and I say, you know what? The Nasdaq's had such an epic run. This name is quite valued right now at like a PE of 170. Like that's the PE of Nvidia is 30. So it's just to me it seems a little bit over. And thing is, you are paying for growth. So I just wonder, are we at a stage where it's mature enough to not have that kind of a tag on it? And just, I don't know. It's been a fun ride. Thank you, Lisa Sue, for everything you've done for all of us. And AMD has been an amazing move higher, and we'll just see where it goes from here. I still have a position. It's not that I don't like it. It's just I would rather put money to work in Nvidia at these current levels. That's basically all that it is. Good morning, guys. The SNDK is tonight, by the way. Pushing to earnings today. Okay, good. Did AMD put friction on any further SNDK? I mean, we read the report. I don't think there wasn't a problem with demand.
No, I don't think we've seen much of anything from anybody's reports that's hurt demand at all. Whether you're talking about the hyperscalers, whether you're talking about AMD here. So I don't think we've actually heard anything. That's not to say that SNDK is going to go up, but if you're looking for concerns from other reports, we haven't seen it. If you're looking at SK Hynix report, that wouldn't make you terribly concerned there. Like none of that means they're going up, but obviously.
I mean, in our note, we have CPU supply has been constrained due to stronger than expected demand that exceeds forecasts. Yeah. So if you do need to build out these servers, that's going to be good for SMCI and for Dell, and then of course, as you just mentioned, the
SMCI was a rocket yesterday.
Yeah, the aforementioned SNDK. I just think that again, like it's not a horrible report. You're down 8%. What happens if SanDisk does give a little blip somewhere? The risk is in all of these names. I mean, you don't expect 10 or 12% moves on nothing. There's reasons why this is what the expectation is, and you've seen DRAM get
volatility's through the roof right now on memory specifically.
I mean, the thing about memory, it's been tough to look at the stocks over the last last week or two because of the situational awareness there with Ashenberger, because the sell-off was probably not real. So just like that move happened there, now you're getting a relief rally back to the upside. So I think now that story's out, the positions have been cleared. now you're starting to look to say, okay, now where do we move from here? And yesterday was a good indication, up 3%. But the NASDAQ's in la-la land, right? I mean, the NASDAQ is just, it's insane. I mean, the move that we've had here in the last 5 days from 660 up to 725, like that's a big move, right? I mean, we've seen them before. It almost made the exact same move right here back in May when we went from, and I got a fly on my head right now, from 670 up to 725. Yeah, there it is right there. Yeah. So that would be a move there. So we've seen this kind of a move before, but this only took 5 days. So it'd be interesting to see where DRAM settles once the NASDAQ can finally calm down. Looks like we might be having one of those days here today.
Israeli military launches strikes in southern Lebanon in response to
I did hear that in my ear, but I don't know if it...
That's possible. USO moved a little bit, but downside, not up. But how about this? Thank you for the super chat, S-Day Bankers. Yes, we will say hi to Joaquin. So enjoy the show, Joaquin. He says he's learning with us. Learning is what it is all about. Market knowledge, financial literacy is amazing. I don't know how old you are. You said son, so I don't want to make any presumptions, right? You could be a grown son. But thank you for tuning in and appreciate that super chat. So hi, Joaquin. I hope you're enjoying the show. And yeah, USO.
Enjoy your summer.
It's almost
over.
In school. It's August, man. Summer's almost over. There's football tomorrow.
Yes, August the 6th. We got our Hall of Fame game.
Arizona. Yeah, it doesn't.
I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Let's go talk about some we're still on Shopify.
We still don't have SpaceX. SpaceX, the biggest story.
This whole time I thought we were already talking about SpaceX.
Third on our list. We'll talk about Shopify here, and we'll say, "Oh, Canada," to that. Oh, I don't have my marker up, but yeah. Let's go back. Okay, there it is. Neil got it. Let's go back over the desk and find out exactly why we are hitting said emoji or emoticon or something.
Graph? I don't know.
Graph GIF?
As for SpaceX, they're showing you how to build the anticipation, right? It's the most exciting one. You got to wait a little bit for it. But no waiting here for Shopify. They said a massive move to the upside off the report. Still holding up relatively well. Generally pretty strong report. And I know we were mentioning this earlier today, Sharif, but the guidance for SHOP cannot be overstated. This was really well received.
Well, Dara, they're guiding low 30% range year over year. That's, you're definitely not overstating that is a good report. Guys, it was a blowout quarter. However you want to split this. $3.58 billion in revenue. That's well above the expectations. And they grew 34% year over year. And they're guiding another low 30 some odd percent year over year. So it's a very good report. Look, they did make some money off their investments. It's not just all organic or operational. They made about $906 million from investments in Affirm, Global E-Online, Klaviyo, Flexport, Stripe. They have their hand in multiple cookie jars. Ironically enough, all those cookie jars somehow tie back into their business. Good look from them. In any event, Merchant Solutions, that grew pretty aggressively organically. That is 84% incremental growth, and they're bringing about $903 million from that division. Operating income surged because of cost discipline. So not only are they growing organically, but they're also, belting down in terms of unnecessary spend. Expenses drop between 33 to 34% year over year. And then we already mentioned the low 30% growth year over year, Adara. I don't see too much wrong with this report.
How do you guys feel about SHOP as a stock for today's session?
I mean, 30, when they come out and give you that low 30% growth on revenue projection, just well above the market estimates there. And the chart's showing, the chart's showing like the breakout it's too far. That's the only downside. It's a very clean break. So you looked at a stock that had settled in a long time range, right, almost a full year. And when it broke down to get into that range, it was in a similar range for almost a longer time. So I think you get a bit of a reset here. And obviously, prior support to resistance is a thing, but I also look at this level here, 140, 143, 144. So that's the gap fill that I would anticipate. It's downward trending since the initial spike when the number came out. Like when they reported, it was right to the upside, made a top at 160, double topped at 160, pulled in, couldn't hold the 150. Now you're getting a lower high at VWAP. So you trend that down. It's about the 143 area, which you might have, look, this might have already been that test in here at like 830, 839 at 144. But if it If it holds that high or low, then we can just play off of that as well. Shopify, great look, good growth. The chart looks fine to me. It's a little extended, so I don't necessarily love it up here. I'd want to see if we can't get something a little bit lower. It just has to hold on to 143.
I mean, this is what a better name looks like here. Look at XYZ block right there. Like, just absolutely took off from its 200 period moving average, had a nice little test there in April, rode it for a while, and then absolutely took off. So, you know, although the Shopify, I think, took obviously a lot of people by surprise, or else it wouldn't be up as high as it was right now. This block is very, very similar in many ways to what Shopify is trying to do here. And it's just, it's going higher. We've seen already a bid come in for PayPal. So, you know, Block, formerly Square, you know, getting higher up. And I don't see why this name doesn't keep on working as well, and, you know, up 1%. I think this is the name that has some more get up to it today off of that Shopify number. I don't really know if XYZ, I feel like they did report already. Earnings call announcement confirmed. Aftermarket close, guess when? Today.
Yeah.
So Block is tonight. So we'll have to wait to see where that name belongs. But yeah, their report coming later on tonight. So Block definitely getting some excitement there. And I think it's going to be up more than 1% today. So this will be a very good stock to look at. No volume, no one's looking at it right now. But with their report coming and a big number from Shopify, I'm actually surprised it's not up higher. So I like Block here today as we move forward in this space. So let's go back over and some sort of a stock that, I don't know, we've never really talked about too much. SPCX.
Can't place it.
Not really sure what this symbol is. Let's go back and find out.
Yeah, just a ho-hum stock, a CEO that no one's familiar with. Good look here, but all jokes aside, SPCX led by billionaire, 1 trillionaire Elon Musk coming out here with earnings. Now, this report, I mean, we had strong year-over-year growth for a lot of these segments here, at least for Q2, if not for H1 2026. But yeah, I mean, SPCX, what stood out to you for this report, Sharif?
The 18.37 billion in capex, Adara, which overshadowed obviously a very good top line beat. 7.81 billion ahead of the 6.93, almost $1 billion beat there, not quite, but it's a good look. But let's talk about the massive $25 billion free cash flow deficit. So since IPOing, you know, they've generated about $3.5 billion in positive 6-month cash flows. But when you look at the full year, or the first half of the year, I should say, $28.5 billion this company's already spent. We're not even talking, you know, they're not even considered a hyperscaler, right? That drove free cash flow negative to $25 billion. You'll see more in a second here as to why that's buoyed by a different segment. And as I talked to you guys about yesterday, I told you guys, watch out for the ARPU on Starlink. They're really expanding in emerging markets. They're not able to charge as much per customer in those emerging markets. So despite growing beautifully here, 66% over year, bringing in $4.29 billion, growing their customer subscriptions to $12 million, their average revenue per user continues to drop. They either have to adopt a more enterprise rather than a customer approach, like a regular customer, more B2B, B2C, or they're going to have to raise prices in emerging markets to kind of buoy that. Also, $100 billion cash cushion, right? They got $85.7 billion from the IPO. Then in June, they raised another $25 billion. That gives them about $100 billion, which they can obviously deploy to continue to expand their data centers, because that's where really the majority of the money is going. Speaking of data centers, Adara, $14.1 billion in contracted cloud backlog. You got the likes of Google, you got the likes of Anthropic wanting more from Elon Musk than he can give them at the moment. And let's not forget about the share lockup. We know 911 million shares are going to unlock on the 6th, and then we have another 300 and change unlocking next week.
Yeah, that share lockup definitely of note here. And the other thing I thought was interesting about that capex, I mean, 18.37 billion, obviously massive, but I was seeing some analysts expecting 18.5 to 18.6 billion. So, you know, in some ways, obviously huge, but in other ways, maybe better than expected. How do you guys feel about SPCX here?
So, I don't know. Look, man, 6x growth in capex will overshadow fantastic growth in revenues every single day. It's just one's growing faster than the other. That's where you get that cash burn. So that's the short term on SpaceX. And the lockup tomorrow as well. I think that gives it some, there's going to be obviously some sellers. The degree to which, I don't know. But I see this one as prior obvious monster level. It double-barreled close and support at 115 effectively. So as long as we're underneath that, it gives you a bit of a cushion. So I'm favoring the short today on SpaceX. That's where we're looking. It hasn't, like 110 is not really a flat bottom break, but it is like the last layer of support. But I would much rather be short in front of a resistance level than taking a break today. And I think that'll be the same thing almost tomorrow as well with the expiration, because I feel if you get trapped on like an initial move, like that gap is going to be pretty wide. Okay, cheese in a chair here. Thanks for the super chat. If someone were to take some of their SpaceX short profits and buy a 1-month billboard ad on the highway next to the SpaceX property saying "Next stop 90," would that be market manipulation? Asking for friends. So you want to go make a billboard? Maybe you get like a Netflix special out of it, and then they turn it into a gigantic story, and then you get a little bit of press that way. You could sell the rights, and then you're good to go. So yeah, it sounds like a fun idea. Elon will probably have a few things to say about it, but then that just generates even more interest for you there and get the name out there.
Yeah, I think you got to have more money than brains to do that one, but I do like that idea. Cheese in a chair. That guy always has lots of ideas. You want to say?
It's not better than the cheese dispenser idea.
No, that's an actual profit center there. I want to say shout out to everybody that is loving. We got a lot of feedback here, 8 comments yesterday, a couple there. We've changed up the way on Instagram. Lots of good talking here. SoFi, a lot of comments there about it. NVIDIA and SpaceX long, just a different sort of a format now as we talk. Oops, I went forward. There she is there. But yeah, different things happening. If you swipe over here, you can see, here we go, talking about what we're looking at in these stocks to go again. So this is from yesterday, Walmart, SpaceX, NVIDIA, yesterday's date. So you can come over into today's, and you can see what we're talking about here by clicking on this, and you go SpaceX long, NVIDIA, SpaceX, everything right there, SoFi, Walmart. So I actually have to go in and change the cover. It's not up yet for today, but this is what we're looking at. So I want to say thank you to everybody. Probably just got to refresh that, and you'll get the Instagram. I'll put the Instagram there in the chat. Join us. But yeah, I wrote down 111. It's also here on Twitter, so you guys can go get that on X as well. I wrote down 110. I mean, 110's been bouncing there today. I'm not sitting here. I don't have any pending orders or anything at 110. I just want to see the actionable trade down here, right? If it comes back in, it sits around 110 for a minute, then we can wait. I mean, I think this is going to move a lot right off the open. We are going to wait for those imbalances to come through. And regardless of whatever the numbers are, I don't think it's just going to trade on momentum. So, we saw yesterday this name really get going yesterday off of, didn't even get that low yesterday, into 116 and closes around, that 120 area, 125. Then it rips up into 130 off the report and then hit all the way down as people are not, buying the Elon sort of talk there. But we'll wait to see. I mean, I think this is going to be one of the biggest AI companies in the world. I don't think there's any doubt about that. This valuation will be much higher next year than it is right now. But it's just a matter of letting the smoke settle. We've heard about IPOs and, they tend to get hit. So SpaceX they changed all the rules for SpaceX to come through. They sold something like 600 billion shares or million shares of this off the IPO. And, as Sharif said, they're raising money as we speak. And it's nice to see the cash they're sitting on. I'm going to watch out for 110. I'm going to take the long today on SpaceX. Just got to try to find out where and when. Does NVIDIA pop on? Well, does it pop? Yeah, the answer is yes.
Well,
I mean, it is doing it. So there it is right there. Nice move up to 215. Look, I don't think this is not rocket science for NVIDIA. SpaceX is going to want to use the best. NVIDIA is the best. So, they're going to use NVIDIA chips, to build out. And they're talking about, I think it was 15 gigawatts of compute power they're looking to deal with. So that's going to be, another windfall there for NVIDIA. The problem with NVIDIA is that, their numbers are just so huge. And it's like, all these deals are great, but they're putting up like quarterly numbers of GDPs and things like that of other countries, right? And so it's just, China, I think, still remains a big story for NVIDIA. And it's nice to have the backing of SpaceX. That's for sure. They're going to be spending like drunken sailors and forever. So maybe not drunken sailors, drunken astronauts there. So it's going to be a good one for NVIDIA. So you are right. I like NVIDIA long. I actually love NVIDIA long. I will probably be long NVIDIA at some point today. If I keep saying the company's name, then maybe it will go higher. But no, for me, I'm looking at Palantir today. My notes are already here. Lucid short, which we're going to talk about never. I have Palantir, I have Google, and I have SpaceX. So you go check it out right now, and you can go find it out. We also do have Sharif's Morning Note for members, and we do have our watch list available to everybody as well for free. So you guys can go check that out. The link is in the description for everything. So you can go have a quick glance at that. And let's go back over to the desk and find out more about this Eli Lilly move.
GLPs, baby.
Yeah, you had Novo Nordisk with that surprise early earnings report that came out yesterday afternoon that caused the stock to drop pretty sharply. You also had Eli Lilly to the upside with a better than expected earnings report and lots of strong weight loss and obesity drug growth. So yeah, I mean, kind of a tale of two stories here.
Yeah, I'm going to cover Lilly, Adara. So this was a huge revenue beat, 48% year-over-year bump on that revenue number, 22.97 billion, just shy of 23, driven by massive Mounjaro and Zepbound demand. But let's talk about their in-process R&D, because, that's what these companies do. If they're not spending on research and development, they're not moving on to the next phase. So they actually had non-GAAP EPS of $8.38. But when you include their R&D, drags it down by about $3 per share. But guess what, guys? They're already boosting their EPS, R&D or not, for next quarter by $2.78 at the midpoint. Very aggressive. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Price pressure continues to hamper their growth, at least internationally. They're saying worldwide volume surged by 60%, but overall realized price down 13%. They're saying, look, outside the United States, our prices dropped by about 36%. A large part of that has to do with China and the inclusion of Mounjaro in China's national reimbursement drug list. Obviously, when you have a big buyer like that, they get a volume discount. That hurts margins. But, Adara, it's not just all GLP-1s. They have a very burgeoning portfolio of non-weight loss drugs. They got one for Alzheimer's. They got one for atopic dermatitis. They got another one here for CLL, a condition I don't even know what it is. Anyway, they're growing pretty nicely. They're up 121% year over year on their non-weight loss portfolio. But let's bring it back to weight loss for a second. Reta frickin' Trutide. Watch out for this thing. It is going to be a blockbuster drug. It is a triple agonist. It just finished its phase 3 trial, and apparently this thing is killer. So look out for it late 27, early 28.
Yeah, and I mean, just to go over Novo quickly, as well as we know, Novo Nordisk, we're expecting to report this morning. It actually came out, as you can see on the chart, a little bit earlier than expected. Yesterday afternoon, a little bit after the European markets closed. Now, it's interesting. They actually reported, decent revenue for this quarter. They raised their guidance. So they're expecting to decline less than expected for the revenue and their operating income, and the market still didn't like it. So interesting look here for Novo and Lilly. Are you guys looking at either of these weight loss drug names today?
Maybe Novo short, but not Lilly. Look, one of these two companies has an actual pipeline. Both these two companies have an oral pill. The one that came out with it after just beat basically everywhere, and the one that already had it out there actually missed on expectations specifically for their oral pill. That's Novo. So what do you want? Novo doesn't really have anything else. I mean, they're trying, but they just don't have anything else. And you did see in the middle of the day that early drop where it got punked. It's under the 50, it's under the 200, it's downward sloping. It's technically up 1%, but you have to remember they got dumped twice in the last week, so there's a little context here. 46 is a level. Maybe it gets up there. I just look at prior support level for potential fade, but it's not near the top of the list there. And you said we wouldn't talk about it, but I'm going to. Lucid's on mine. I don't care. These guys, it was a very disappointing quarter. They they delayed their mid-size vehicle for Lucid. Right? You throw the miss on top of that, then they don't give guidance, and the CEO had a cagey way of saying about why they're not going to give any guidance. Well, it's a different reality, and we want to make sure blah blah blah, all that good stuff. So to me, as long as it's underneath $7.40, we want to look initially for a pop fade. Imbalances just dropped that. It probably doesn't have an imbalance, but yeah, I'm looking short Lucid. But my stop is the first stop is going to be set at 722, so I want to make sure I can get something in the 7 range. I don't want to punch the lows. But you want the low.
Yeah, I already punched it. Yeah, so I'm already in this. This was my number one trade idea today, Lucid. So we're going to go short here at $7, and we'll just see, man. We're going to sit here at 98 and see if we get a little bit more. So there we do. We do get some more now. So just a couple hundred shares to start the day, and we'll see. There we go. More shares just came in right now on LCID with only 2 minutes left to go before we start kicking off the show. Yeah, Eli Lilly is my largest non-tech holding, so I really like it, other than the indexes. But yeah, good stock today. That Repitrutide, when that comes through, I think that's going to be a monster, obviously. So get your Eli Lilly shares right now, as they are cheap, in my opinion. And once that sort of new wave of drug comes through, man, you'll see. Novo Nordisk was early. Someone dropped their earnings release there early yesterday, and it was leaked. So, oopsies, there goes my chart. But yeah, they had that yesterday. I'll get that back up in 1 second. I just wanted to show you guys. Well, maybe I might have closed. Oh, here it is right here. Yeah, so yesterday, if we look at that right in the middle of the day, whoops, there it comes out at noon. It was dropped early at 12:30, so leaked out downside. So they've already been hit. So you want to watch out for that low there of 43.75 for NVO. But here we go, man. We're in it right now. We're into Lucid. Let's see. We're short at 698, which is perfect. I already had an order trigger through $7, which is why I knew it broke. But I didn't want to take it in the pre-market. We're close enough now to do that. So we'll give this a little bit of a run here on LCID. Back over to the desk here for one last talk. Or are we or are we not? I thought there was one underneath.
There's only 30 seconds. There's Uber there, but with 30 seconds to go here, I mean, yeah, Uber did have a negative report. Just quickly, there's a buy and bounce or sell and bounce on Snapchat. Uber has a sell and bounce of 300 shares. So, yeah, maybe we'll just take it into the open at this particular point. You can see, it's in the free watch list, everybody. Uber stinks. Uber missed top and bottom. Uber has a flat bottom break at $66 and is in a world of hurt. Nvidia, I didn't see a buy and balance on Nvidia, but clearly must have had something. We just broke out the top on Nvidia. I want to shout out and thank VinFast, that's ticker VFS, for sponsoring the opening bell, which is right about now. And as you can see, already a big move up there for Nvidia as it's absolutely flying.
Yeah, we like some Nvidia here. Okay, so in the money here on Lucid. Let's see what winds up happening. I just bid some 86s and 87s right now, seeing if we get a down drift in Lucid. Doesn't look like we're getting much volume at all. It's already open, right? It's NASDAQ name, so this might not work out. Who knows? We'll see. Good fill there. We'll take a dime. Already on Lucid. Okay, so the other name that I want to look at here early, of course, we always want to check out what the action is on SpaceX. And, this is the 110 area, right? So here we go. You could easily smack this short if you believe in the short right there. I'm going to wait to give it a little bit of a go to see where exactly we're going now with SPCX. So far, so good here as we wait and see what SpaceX has in mind for itself there today. Breaking back down below $10. It's not short. It is short sell restricted, so you're not going to be able to hit the 10. But for right now, we wait around on SPCX and see where we go. It looks like there's enough selling pressure to break through that 110. Will it happen now? And now, and then, and
no and then.
Now, no and then.
No and then.
Yeah, so right now there is some buyers there. Looks like we might have picked the right level, but there we go. Now these guys are following this down. You can see the size really starting to whack this name right now to the downside. There goes SpaceX, nice little downside play. Lucid, we've got some shares on that. So we're going to start to cover a little bit more here on Lucid. What's up, Adara?
I'll just quickly mention another car adjacent name that reported earnings that we didn't get to. Excuse me. UBER just briefly made intraday lows, currently trading near pre-market lows. Miss here on sales, inline EPS, weaker than expected EPS guidance. Bad look here for UBER, both the company's earnings report and the stock right now.
Okay, we're already, there it is, like a nice bounce. We called the 110 bounce there, but a little bit too early for me to take it. So there's the 110 bounce right now. We are, really cashed in already on Lucid. We got out of a decent amount there on LCID, so this will be a big win, hopefully, for us. Looks like we just froze a little bit there. All right, so SpaceX right now, there goes right back below. So it's actually working out pretty perfect right now, just bouncing around that 110. So let's give it a little bit of love there. Palantir, my second idea, that's not really working out too much there because we didn't get the dip buy. We wanted Palantir dip by 159. There did not come through. So we'll wait on Palantir, and then Google long, and then SpaceX we've already looked at. So just a quick look at Google, then we'll go back over and figure out what Neil's doing.
Shopify, go ahead.
Yeah, Google, no, that's nothing. Just Google down into 380. I still liked the 380-ish area long. I wrote down 378. We'll see about that one.
Shopify looks like it's losing the 150 level, so you might get that test in the 140. Still up 21% on Shopify. But that's significantly off of some of the highs. I did get ticked into Lucid, but we've already looked at that, so we'll just quickly go over to SpaceX. I didn't get the fill. It's SSR. I didn't get the punch at the low. That's Virgin Galactic. Hilarious. I didn't get the punch when it broke that 110 because it's SSR, but it did snap me back in, and then I threw I don't know. I feel like I threw a stop that shouldn't have triggered. But anyways, I'm going to allow it to calm down. I want to get underneath the volume weighted average price. But it's underneath that 110 level. Initially, I liked 115, but that'll have to wait. And with Shopify, I'm going to be pretty patient about this sucker. Like the gap is so big on it that there's no chasing. If you like low to mid 140s, got to wait for that. There won't be a dip buy on Nvidia. Nvidia is now 3% up. Hasn't even had a red candle for you to be able to buy the dip at this particular point. You know, another name did report, it was AMD, and AMD is going higher as well. As that flies. So yeah, the indie buyers are coming right in off of the open. It was a good report. People didn't like the CapEx, so there's some buyers coming into this sucker. Good for them.
Yeah, we like that one. Probably filled on some Intel there. Intel really took off the open, so that was a good one. We'll see if we're filled on our own personal account. We talked about trying to buy said dips there on Intel, and I don't know if we did or not, so we'll have to wait to see if that's available for me right now. But early takes there. We looked at SpaceX. We like some Intel talking over there as well, and then Google, another long that we had indicated, that's trying to go now. So Google cooking up a storm right now, and we like it. So we'll have to wait to see here where exactly Google wants to go. We don't have that long. Oops, we're still on Intel, didn't turn over. There it is, 383 to 384 right now coming through. So not a bad look here for us early on Google for that long. And then, I know Neil went over under there on SpaceX. I think that's the right level. We just got to let it settle. We marked down 110 numerous times there. So we'll have to give that a little bit of a go and see if there's something to talk about here with SpaceX. We got more shares, of course, on Lucid. So, we're not trying to play around. We're trying to make this an actual winner for our account here today. So I had to average into it. It did come back up into VWAP. We initially took to all the 7s, got out in the 80. Like our best fill was 81. So it's been definitely a good day today for Lucid short, but it's not really doing anything. So this could blow up and move against. I don't really know what's happening right now with Lucid. So give it a little bit of time and we'll let this one settle down. LCID right now back over $7 again.
Yeah, there's this small capper that's running Zeta, ZETA, that's breaking out. And I wanted to remind everybody.
Oh, yeah, that was the one from yesterday.
That's the one from yesterday in the afternoon as well with a crazy move. But digital brands, if you're wondering what's going on with digital brands, there was a take private quote unquote offer from an insider shareholder at like $77, which I don't think anybody really believes is all that real. But that's the story. It's given almost all of it back. If this were to go all the way back to like 22 or so, I'd be looking for some kind of a dead cat bounce. It's just the premium's so big, it's almost unrealistic when you think about it. We got a super chat from Rusta about Stack. Isn't Stack dead? It's got no volume. The last time it pumped, it dumped. 67,000 in volume. Appreciate the super chat, but Stack, that was fun last week, or maybe it was actually 2 weeks ago that it was a little bit of fun. With these small cappers, you needed to move, you need to have a story, you need to have a catalyst. Most importantly, you need volume, everybody, and plenty of volume with Nvidia. This one's not going to dip at all. This one's crazy. Nvidia's got the bid. Yeah. Elon's going all in on Nvidia, and that was I thought that would weigh down AMD, but apparently. Maybe not so much, and AMD's even trying to fill the gap a little bit itself.
I'm going to just slowly. I've been getting out of Lucid. Lucid's going to be a big stock there today. We were just because of what we were able to do, and again, we put on a decent amount of shares there. We paid 4 shorts, so it's a good day there for Lucid. And I'm only holding now 20% of what we had. We did get a good fill up there at 705. But basically all the money was made right here. Early, we only took a couple hundred shares, and as soon as the market opened, we got that fill at 98, and then it was just like whoosh right there to the downside. So far, so good there on Lucid. And like I said, man, we wanted to make sure that we were punching out of this name. So let's get out a little bit more there. We only had 20% left, so now we're a lot lighter on that one. Another money-making opportunity today on Lucid, the #1 stock on my report there. So we're happy with it. Okay, and then we'll just go back over to SpaceX. I mean, this is the one that we're gonna have to watch out for a little bit there today. There again is the idea of the 110 long. And it's been good, right? There's that breakout that we probably could have taken. We did that yesterday on Palantir, 110.38, and now it's blasting higher on SpaceX. So again, so far today, man, Lucid written down for that long, gave it to you. SpaceX written down for 110, gave it to you, and just said be patient with it. too patient, I guess, right there. But we're having a good day, so we're not going to cry over spilled milk. But that was one that we should have probably taken there with the SpaceX long. Hopefully you guys were all about that. And yeah, people writing down Nvidia 220. Damn, you're right about that one there today as Nvidia taking off. Yeah, you're right, Joe. As we say, which stock is going to be the largest one in your portfolio depends on what day you're looking at, because today Nvidia up that 4% and ticking higher. I like the stock of NVDA.
It is an absolute rocket right now. The other thing that's trying to go here, there was a dump on Bitcoin. It just went red, but a heavy reversal candle just came in. So big time volume coming into IBIT. I'm going to give an update because you have to. I reloaded, but my stop, as we said, the pre-market high level. So 717 is the stop entry. I've only been taking like 706 and 707, so risking 10 cents. I haven't taken any fills above the 7 level to get out, but I'm going to take a couple at the 01 if we can get it this time, because it's trending to the upside. So I'm giving it to here. Like, that's the idea. With a trade, you got to have an out. That's going to be the out. But Nvidia is still without any kind of a dip. Oh, tag VWAP one time, you sucker. But I do like this reversal I was saying in IBIT. Like, that's a heavy reversal. If it can hold on to VWAP, I like this trend break potential here for IBIT. That just sort of popped on the radar because of that massive reversal candle. That's the only reason. Uh-oh, we're out of milk.
Okay, so we just went long on Amazon. So let's go right now. AMZN is now in the building, and that one's starting to print out for us. So we gotta trade it. So we are trading it right now. Long on Amazon. Let's go. Nice little run there on AMZN. So and there goes Lucid again. So this is why we don't do too much about it. It just ripped to the high side right there, and we punched into a little bit extra there because we had less shares than we had, so we'll just get out of those ones. But right now, no worries about that trade. We'll still be positive on Lucid, of course. And then there it goes now. Amazon starting to go back up to the upside. We'll see if we can, again, ring some Reggies on this one as it's trying to go a little bit higher. We'll close the book on Lucid. The short was right for me. I mean, we made money on it. We'll just let it go now and see what winds up happening with Lucid, possibly back into that short at some point. But there it goes right now. We be clubbing very soon, hopefully, on AMZN. Nice little down take there on a name that we love. Like, I love this name, so we're going to continue to trade it. Another out there on AMZN. The trade of the day miss for me, and hopefully it comes back, is going to be SpaceX at 110. I know we showed this earlier, but this is what we've been talking about right into here. Come over to Instagram and check out the page right there. Lucid, there's a $7 short. That one was a moneymaker. The Palantir long, it dipped into 160, but we didn't get that. Google's a long, and then there's your SpaceX 110 long with some explanations as well. So yeah, really happy with Nvidia, and glad we talked about Nvidia v AMD last time, because that's been working out for sure. I don't know what the AMD story is today.
It's still going.
It's still green, so went back. Oh yeah, wow, 492. There it goes too. So nice move higher for advanced micro devices.
Oh, might have jinxed. Maybe a bit of a jinx on AMD there, because it just tagged almost 99s. Yeah, 498 change, and it's pulling back into VWAP. The thing that Nvidia just absolutely refuses to do. There's just no dip on this sucker. So we go to trend break and IBIT, but that's about it. I didn't hear anything, but I just saw a volume spike through the lows on USO. So just attention to that. It could be nothing. I didn't hear any news, Adara.
Yeah, I didn't put it up because it's not, again, there's nothing here in the U.S. There's no update to the conflict, but Associated Press reporting that Iran and Oman negotiators have finalized a draft deal on their version of the Strait of Hormuz, which, again, the U.S. is not part of this. So one draft deal has been met for the Strait of Hormuz. This is not the U.S. deal, guys.
Gotcha. Okay, so
we
kind of nothing burger.
Just an update right here. We got long Intel off the open. I told you that we had a pending bid, so we're long at $98. Literally just added to our long-term holdings there of Intel at 98. So that's what we're long now. We just bought some more, so that's a good little 2% win there early, and I'm not planning on selling it. So just giving you an update on what happened there. We did cash out. We're now back into a situation with Amazon as it's falling back into some levels where we could think about, which we just did, reloading this. If this breaks 277, almost out, 279, 278, then we're out. So that's very, very close right there. 278.99, and we're stopping out of this name, but we're only long now at 30s. Let's take a little bit out here. If it wants to bounce through us, okay, now it is into the 40s. We'll see. We have had some big runners as of late, but this name, if it does come back out, we just got to take the out, right? I mean, look at the market. There it goes. The NASDAQ is blasting right now to the upside. We just got a 40 fill.
What day does the NASDAQ get to the all-time high? What was the question
It's almost today, I think, almost.
No, remember yesterday somebody...
No, it was 2 days ago. They asked about 725.
Oh, it wasn't the high.
And I told them that was incoming, and that's already happened. So
before we get to Odyssey fights. I haven't seen that. I've heard good things, but I've also heard some bad things by some people who really don't like it. What price do we think Nvidia will go to today? We got to do some work on Nvidia, but just very quickly, Shopify put in a bottom tail at that 143. So it'll be, the technical setup is a trend break trade off a false break of a high. So I'm going to be looking for the first resistance at 148. But how high can Nvidia go? And the answer is, the way that the stock market has been rallying lately, do not second guess potential upside. That's what almost everything is doing. Nobody thought what Palantir was going to do yesterday. You didn't know it was going to go 30%. But Nvidia has resistance here at 223 with a topping tail on the daily. That's as good a place as other. And thank you, Rob, for the refill. And thank you, Adara, because we're going to you for some economic data. I forgot. Yeah, it's 9:45, isn't it?
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Neil. And thank the S&P, or not, depending, I guess, on how we react to this. S&P Services PMI final 53.6 is the forecast and the prior print for the services print. Composite print, 53.6 is the prior. So basically the number here is 53.6. At 10 a.m., we're going to get the more closely watched ISM Services PMI number. We have 54.6, so higher than expected S&P Services PMI. We've got the composite PMI 54.5. So both services and composite PMI higher than expected, higher than the previous print. Take a look at the S&P 500 right now, hanging out near highs, nothing too different or, radically changing from what we just saw. Again, ISM Services PMI at 10 a.m. Be here. I'll be there for those numbers for you guys. Back to you.
We got stopped out on Amazon. We actually reversed it into the short there. So now we got to wait to see where that winds up going. We talked about, when levels break, what we're trying to do with those levels, and that was a break, so we tried to go short. Now I'm just going to give it to, I want to reload this at 278.50 and give it to 279. So got to give this one a little bit of room. Only have half a unit right now on what's been a pretty profitable day thus far, and really happy with what's been happening. Look at Lucid. Right there. Glad we're profitable on this name, but definitely stopped out there at that 720 marker. Wish we didn't, but we did. So there it goes. Now back into the downside. To have held it would have been something else, but that's not part of the plan there. You can't hold everything every day, but we will try to hold on to this Amazon that's going a little against us. Still in Greensville, obviously there. We've had such a good run recently of profits. So let's just stick with what we've been doing. It's about time now to start to think a little more seriously about SpaceX. I mean, it was the miss trade was a pretty easy setup. It's the same one. As Neil said, who knew Palantir was going to go 30%? We didn't, but we knew it was going to go up yesterday. And once it broke through that 150 area, we were able to grab that. So we had a pretty big trade yesterday on Palantir at this time, and it was right there. It happened again on SpaceX where you based out. It gave you an out of 109. I mean, at $1 worth of risk on SpaceX, that's not even, you should be actually risking more. And then there it is right there to the upside, gives you $3 plus, $3.50 plus for $1. So that would have been something that could have been looked at, but I missed it. So, that would have been a trade there to have a look. So we'll see if it comes back in here. Trades very, very difficult on day one of earnings. I think we've talked about that many times. So we're going to have to watch out for that. The other name that I really liked, and my bid is still there, it's at 378. So Google's coming in right now pretty aggressively. I'm going to actually cancel that bid right now because we are right now just straight cash homie on Amazon to the downside right now as this name turns green for us all of a sudden, as now it's coming back in and there's another fill and there's another fill as we get more around that 277 area now for AMZN. So it's going to be a 2-for-2 kind of day as long as this one comes back in right now on Amazon. So we're going to watch out for that. We're really happy again. We talked about it earlier. We talk about our long-term trades and I got filled there. I even said it in the pre-market that we had a market sort of on open bid there. I had a lower bid. It just wound up filling. It was on the Canadian, the CDR, so INTC. That's why I wasn't sure what the price was. Oops. INTC. Watch the liquidity. It's not very good in Canada.
It's a little spready on those.
Yeah, it's big time, and it's not even really moving.
You do not trade those.
No, there's only 39,000, but we got filled right off the jump here. So we got filled at 55, I think it was 55.90, something like that there. So that's going to be obviously, oh no, did it go even lower than that? I don't know. But anyways, I thought my fill was 55.90 or 55.80 maybe. Yeah, maybe right there off the open there, but it does dip down and now it's higher. So anyways, doesn't matter. We are now 50 cents in the money as we continue to watch out for our good friend over here, Amazon. So that's going to be a good one. Now 69er right now as we go chicken dinner winner right now for AMZN. Bid out some 82s and there it goes, man. The reversal hits again. We're almost at the daily goal and it's been a good one. Thank you to everybody. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, and go give me a follow, man. We want to get this Instagram account kicking out right now. So we'll refresh it. These are the stocks to trade today. Lots of fun stuff, man. We're putting on here, you know, pictures of what we're doing after. Good little, like there's me and Joe and I should say. The SpaceX talk is all on here. Thanks to Ramin for a lot of the work that's been put on here with our Instagram. And thanks to my wife as well for all those clips that are going out there every single day. But there it is, Amazon to the downside. We'll have to see what's going on. I might just hold this for a minute. Amazon getting weaker as we speak with the NASDAQ ripping.
Yeah, and SSAge or S-Sage was like, whoa, you got the Nvidia dip into VWAP, but at the same time,
Nice.
Shop was at the level I like.
Oh.
So you got to take the trade that was there first, and Shopify was the 143. There is the bottom tail. We said 148 resistance. I got to respect its lower highs. It's a false break. It's still trending down. That's the level. But the second there were sellers right at the 48 jumped out, and we do miss Nvidia at that same moment, trying to come back into the volume weighted average price. And that one, I don't even know am I chasing that $1 to try to grab that fill? If you're just sitting in front of a line on a chart, the market doesn't know there's a line on your chart, and the market doesn't care that there's a line on your chart. Is there support at that level is going to matter. So I don't usually just sit in front of the volume weighted average price. IBIT's still in the same range that it was before. AMD is still going. 500 has now broken on advanced micro devices, as that is absolutely churning to the upside. It's almost filled in the entirety of the gap, and only because it's of interest to me. Digital brands, it's not quite there yet. It's almost all the way back to where it closed yesterday after getting this, I don't know, rumor or whatever we're calling it. I think the story is fugazi. Whatever, some Chinese insider wants to buy the company for 4x. Probably not, but it does put it in play. It's well under VWAP. Just maybe break the trend. I'm just looking for a dead cat bounce somewhere to get a little bit of a secondary play here.
Oh boy. Yeah, Amazon goes not $1, but $2, man. Amazon really likes the clubs these days. Yeah, there's a nice move to the downside now on AMZN. So let's just, keep on watching out where that one's going to go from here. Amazon, nice move as we continue to appreciate that stock here as it moves a little lower. Now 165 there on that reversal break, right? So we actually made money long, and then now we're taking it back into the short. So yeah, man, I like the stock of Amazon right there. And yeah, Barton, I'm with you, man. Barton there saying that he's also made his daily goal. Now he'll have hands off of the keyboard until tonight. And I think that's the right thing, right? I mean, if you're hitting it, that's why we talk about this is one of the hardest jobs, one of the lowest success rates that you're ever going to find. So if you do have some success, guys, get in there, man, take that profit. And yeah, great idea there, Barton, to do exactly that. Google's at I want to go long, believe me, I want to go long on Google here. So if you want to go long, why don't you just do it, my guy? But the thing is that I was really trying to milk this, I'm getting out. I only have 40% left of this Amazon trade, but I was looking at the NASDAQ falling down, and I don't really want to make too much of a mistake here. But at the same time, I do like this Google area. I mean, we wrote down 378. Okay, so we still have a minute. Actually, it went to 378, so that would now be $1.50 in the money, but I don't have it. So, yeah, we'll watch out for that. Amazon is retracing a little bit there, 276.50. We do want to make sure that, again, we're not holding things on forever on these names. You want to make sure that we do get out. And right now, I've been using the 25 period moving average. I think I need something a little bit better off the open because, that's too far away. So that's why we use, this was 276.80. I guess that's 279. So this is that 2-minute cover up candle that we talked about that with Brian. If I even extend it a little bit more, 277 and change. So either way, no matter what we wind up doing here, we're going to have a profitable trade on this name, still $1.50 in the money. and looking a little bit lower. Yeah, we do have some halts.
It's already open.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this one's JLHL is already open here. So, look, I'm not thinking anything. It's the first time I pulled it up. This seems so familiar. This went last week. No, it wasn't last week. It must have been a couple of weeks ago. It looks like this one went. So a bit of a habitual line stepper. Probably have to check the news. My guess is it doesn't need news. I think this was one of those ridiculously small flows.
Look at Lucid. Oh my God.
It's got to be. But it's about to go into an up halt again here. JLHL 976. The last halt was at like 8. Sorry, the low was 832. The last halt was about 907. So it's going into another up halt on JLHL. But I'm not abreast of what a story might be. And they don't need a story here, JLHL. It's only got a 1.4 million float. It's already doubled the float as we speak. So into one up halt, probably going to be a 5-minute one. Ooh, we just missed by a penny. Going to get an offer. Yesterday's high on IBIT. So we're looking yesterday's high and then, yesterday's high and then pre-market high off the bounce off of the volume weighted average price. And thank you for the gift, Canadian.
That's right.
What do we think about Tesla today? I wasn't really paying too much attention to Tesla. Didn't really have a catalyst with it because it was a SpaceX day and a chip day and so much else was moving. But when I think it's in a downward trend, the next spot to look at was about this 330 to 340 as a big time level, and that's just prior support bounce level to look for resistance. It didn't really get into it, so it's still that rounded bottom, but no break to test the next level up. It's sitting in the middle of no man's land for me, at least on Tesla. So it's kind of a nothing burger. If you're trading the same place you were yesterday and you don't have a catalyst, it doesn't really make for a sexy day trade.
Man, I feel like so much better. Like selling out of that AMD and like getting more into Intel is really a happy, joy moment for me right now. Let's wait to see what happens with Amazon here coming back in through 276. And also, the two most recent stocks we bought now were Intel today, and then Caterpillar is right where we bought it, and then Google also down there at 320, and that's starting to, as if, man. There's that Google level that we liked, and now just keep on going to the upside. But we're really happy with today's move, obviously, on Nvidia as that continues to go higher. Yeah, that XYT, a couple halts now. XYT just halted. This has been a big stock, man. I don't know. We didn't even look at it. Oh, by the way, yeah, buddy. There it goes, man. The face slapper. We get the next low there on Amazon as we're starting to go low. Shorty got low right there. We like that one. But there's YXT.com now halted down here at $7.54. YXT right now up 190%. So get ready to see what happens with this name, man. YXT.com. I don't know if there's going to be a news story on this, but I'm going to just call it up. YXT here at Dara is all over
at the end of last month, they regained compliance with the NASDAQ.
Yeah, float of 24 million.
Yeah, Luis also discussed this one this morning. We were talking about it, so it's been a little bit discussed, but yeah, as Neil said, I'm not seeing any other news other than that NASDAQ compliance regained at the end of last week.
Okay, good.
If they have earnings, they report them this month.
The one thing that I got from Luis, and I think it's very, very important, you see Joe doing it, not so much with my guy Sharif there, but Luis yesterday talked about trading Palantir. He talks about trading names that are actually moving around a lot, and I think that that's something that you all have to remember and keep into your repertoire, right, is to be able to trade many different styles, many different names. And, like today's trade of the day for me was Lucid. Are we up on it? Yes. Are we up a decent amount? Yes. But at the end of the day, it's like, if we stick with it, look what winds up happening there. We had our stop and get stopped out, but we should have probably looked at that again at that $7 breakdown. And I just want to show you, like, if you're sticking with stronger names, a lot of the time in strong ideas, you can hit pay dirt. And, we've been really, to take like a gambling analogy here, like really reading the board pretty good, man. We've had a lot of good trades over the last little while. And so we should have just been, look, I don't have a problem with confidence and actually, holding on to things and putting up some numbers. But at the end of the day, it's like, we sit here, we're happy with what we've happened in Amazon, but we did miss that Lucid move back in, right? And so to Neil's point about missing Nvidia at VWAP and all that, sometimes you're looking at different spots. And, so right there again, NVIDIA actually just tested VWAP again. So I don't know what the excuse is this time, but I should have definitely made it there again as I wasn't looking at it there at 219, and there's a bump higher as NVIDIA really leading the way in the space. But I think it's AMD is actually, had a $20, $25 move into 500 again. So, you know, they're buying up the names today. Have you looked at DRAM yet? I mean, I'm not even sure what the...
DRAM is failing.
Okay, yeah, it's actually, no, it's at the high.
Well, sorry, no, it's failing the highs yesterday.
Yeah.
So it's
55.
This is a setup at this time of day sometimes I would be taking, but I just didn't want to be chip short, to be honest with you. Like it was not part of the plan of the action. So that setup might be there, and Intel was giving a similar one. But the other thing too is remember we get earnings after the bell on SanDisk, right? So SNDK is going to be on earnings day, and they look pretty strong going into yesterday's high. So you're getting some good runs. Oh, that was the other thing I wanted to point out, because for the first time in a while, SLV is trading at a new price. Well, it trades a new price every single day. It's trading in a new range. So it finally broke out above 55. It's just such a hefty chase. So I do want to be looking at SLV today, but I couldn't find any prices that I liked whatsoever. So if it's just going to maybe hold a trend, we can get into it. We're going to go to Adara. We've got numbers and happening now. I'm only looking for the high on IBIT and then try to dip back into VWAP for the next play. But it's 10 o'clock. Let's see if the market's going to move on some data.
Yeah, we right now are 30 seconds away from ISM Services PMI. We already got the S&P PMI prints. Those are both going to be a little bit above estimates. ISM Services PMI forecast 54.5, prior 54. So keeping in theme with what we had with the S&P PMI, we are expecting prior or higher than the prior print. Let's see if we actually get this 54.5, or like what we saw with the S&P, we get something a little bit higher than that. And we'll find out in just 1 second. Again, this is ISM Services PMI 47.4. Oh, sorry, that's employment. So PMI 54.1, a little bit lower than we were expecting again versus 54.5 expected. You also got ISM Services paid above estimates, new orders below estimates, and employment. Oh, sorry, new orders above estimates, employment below estimates. So kind of mixed S&P or ISM prints, but the key print here 54.1. Below estimates of 54.5 for ISM Services PMI. A little bit of a drop here on the SPY. Again, this comes after higher than expected S&P 500 services and composite PMI prints. So kind of a mixed look there. We'll have to wait and see how that shapes up. We'll take a look at AMD right now, though. Advanced Micro Devices on watch with earnings day one. This one, in case you guys forget, really strong year-over-year data center growth of 107%. You had better than expected EPS and revenue. Guidance was a little bit tepid for Q3, and you also had CapEx above estimates. SPCX, another major name that reported after the bell yesterday. This one just kind of hanging out near session lows. The SpaceX, you also had strong CapEx, though actually a little bit lower than what we were expecting, and strong year-over-year revenue growth. This was the company's first ever quarter, and CEO Elon Musk also really emphasizing the company's relationship with Nvidia for chips. Let's talk SNDK. This name, one of many that's going to be reporting after the bell today, along with the likes of XYZ. You've got SMR reporting. You're going to have IONQ, Dutch Bros, so lots of different names from a variety of sectors reporting after the bell. But SNDK probably the most noteworthy here. We know this name has the tendency and propensity to make big, volatile moves. Currently, right now, I'm trying to trade a little bit higher from the open, but roughly flat compared to where we closed yesterday. Make sure to like. Make sure to subscribe as we send you back over to Sean and to Neil.
Oh, thank you, Adara. And Uber is another name that reported.
Oh,
we
yeah.
tried to get that one. There was a lot to talk about in the morning, so right at the open, we're just getting to that in the rundown. It still sucks. It still stinks. It still stinks, but I guess the low hasn't broken yet, but it is going to any second now. There's a big reversal happening. And I just said I don't want the chips. And then SMCI, like, look at this sucker. I zoomed out and was like, what are we doing? Like, look at the double top here on SMCI and the reversal. Like, into resistance, now a flat bottom break, just do any kind of a pop. And even as I say that, I'm looking across the board, like DRAM is a different story, I guess, with DRAM with the report tonight, but you zoom out and all of a sudden that looks so different that high. When in doubt, zoom out, because that was bigger resistance than we gave credit for, but I think that SMCI looks a little bit better for a short trade. Just a much more clear gap, so there's room that if you end up chasing, like getting it back into the volume weighted average price, which I'm going to try to, if it pops back up, I'm going to short it back into VWAP. There's just so much more room for it to go with some nice distinct outs up at that high. We got Birdman with a super chat in here. Oh, I know this stock. T3. That's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, formerly known as Nuke. A bit of a wild ride, and I can't seem to ever get much out of it. How would you play it? Check the daily. Remember, this stock is like pure, it's like halts. It is 50% moves in a day. The only way to look at something like, you're basically taking shots. Like every day is a shot play, where this could be at $8 or it could be at $100, and that's what you got to be thinking about. So for me, if you're thinking I just like support and resistance. So put in support at $26. So any long, in my opinion, is like you got to be able to somehow give it to that or give it to a higher low at 40. So buying it today is like, that's super tricky. You're talking about in the 50 to 60 range and then giving it to $40. So sometimes a trade is like no trade because the spreads are so wide, they become insanity. And as far as the day trade goes, it's hard to make rhyme or reason to these because technically they're just so hard to execute on. You can't take trend breaks because your slippage is too big. That's useless, right? Like support and resistance is fine, but then the slippage through that bid is unpredictable. If you buy 56 and it breaks 55, are you getting 54.5? Are you getting 52? Are you getting 53? It's complete guesswork, and you got to be able to know you're going to get your out. I believe we are heading to the left.
Yeah, we're doing something. But we also, there goes SpaceX right there to the upside. So, yeah, man, I mean, we wrote down 110 and just, it happened too quick. Like, that's too bad that we're just trying to give it a little bit more time, and we didn't need to. Now this is 450 right now in the money for a slapper right there on SpaceX. Congratulations, everybody that believed in that long for now. It's only 10 o'clock. You never know what's going to happen here. Trader, here's an offer that even your broker isn't giving you. Markets have been extremely active lately, and for traders, of course, this kind of environment creates opportunity, as you're seeing live every single day. Big moves mean more setups and more momentum. We love momentum, but to really take advantage of these conditions, you need two things, man. Discipline and, of course, access to capital, and that's where Trade the Pool comes in. Instead of being limited by the size of your own account, traders can access firm capital and focus on executing their strategy and managing risk. No more fear of blowing up your own personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're nervous about your own savings. This is what we call limited risk trading. I think we do a good job of it here all of the time. If you want to take advantage of the volatility in today's markets without risking your own capital, please go ahead, scan that QR code that you see on your screen and visit tradethepool.com. We are still a buck and change in the money. We've only traded two names today. The Lucid short, which was awesome, but not good.
Oh my God.
Because it eventually took out the top. And then we have on there, we're up more on Amazon than we are on Lucid, but still 2 for 2 there. And then the Amazon, when eventually long, and then you put on your trading cap and you reverse that into the short. And then there it goes now into that short side of things. But we do have an update with Adara.
Keep an eye here, guys, on USO. USO dropping here, seeing reports that on the Treasury website, the U.S. has removed Iran-related sanctions. So that would, I guess, signify some kind of not peace, but at least calm between the two parties. You do get a drop here in USO. Again, guys, the story here, according to seeing reports that on the Treasury website, they've actually removed Iran-related sanctions here. So the U.S. removing Iran-related sanctions, that's the deal here with USO. Back to you.
Okay, well, we like that trending down, and as long as it goes lower, then I think we can forget about it. And every single spike in the last few days has been to the downside. I don't think we've had many upside surprises, but speaking of upside surprises, I say the Nasdaq just came back. Bitcoin just went to the high, so I jumped out, but it is worth mentioning. This might be a potential reload because when I look at, come on, Nasdaq, the Nasdaq actually went all the way down into the lows and is only now breaking out. So there's some relative strength happening in IBIT, and I had mentioned silver's trading in a new place. It's broken out the highs. This is going to be a solid upward trend, probably gold as well, but I've been looking at SLV. It's in a new breakout. It's held down here for over a month underneath 55. 50 to 55 for a month on SLV, and you're breaking it out today. So whether it's IBIT or silver, one of these two into VWAP is going to be the next play for myself, and that's assuming SMCI is completely dead. But that could come back and pick me up.
Juan Padilla, we can't, good ideas all the time here. Look, guys, here, I'm going to put this Instagram in again. There's the Google 378. Google touched 378 twice and ripped $2 off of those levels. So I'm still getting a little bit of FOMO on that one. The Lucid short, the SpaceX long at 110, all of those printing. So now we got to go back over. So definitely give me a shout there on Instagram, responding to messages and whatnot. Get into the chat, give a follow. I think you'll be happy with that. Every single day, it's in the carousel. Everything that I'm doing, right? So it's an easy way to get a quick little look there. It's on Instagram daily, okay? So you can go have a quick look at that, and it's pretty cool. The format and everything, we like that one there. The only really we have my Instagram account is active, and then so is the shows. And then you can come over here on Amazon. That's making a move again. Let's check out some other names. I mean, you know, in today's market, it's not just what we've been talking about. There are many other plays. Let's go Amazon. Let's get to the downside, baby. And this is now 2 days in a row that we've gone 2 for 2 or 3 for 3 early, just focusing, right? And so as we said, woo, we like this one. Eli Lilly up 6% there today. I like that move there for Eli Lilly. I mean, we're happy with that. We're also happy with J&J getting back up. But is this 1,200 yet? No. So Eli Lilly looking at 1,200. Damn it, wanted to buy a little bit more of that one. Instead, we bought some Intel. That's trying to pull back in. Like I want to lever from tech names. And what do? My first opportunity to buy something on a dip, I buy it. Buy Intel. Okay, nice move there. Caterpillar up 2%. You know, that's a recent name that we got. We're actually long at 88888 there on Caterpillar, so that's going to be a good little trade there. Hopefully that continues to work out. Caterpillar doing the best it can here to get going, so that's going to be a good one. AIM had a good little call there as well. Some of the pullbacks, what we've seen some stocks kind of go hard recently, including Microsoft's come back in a little bit today, as has Oracle. You know, the belle of the ball that's not that at all is Meta. We'll have to wait to see if that can get going. 593. It's nice that it's up 1% today. Of course, Palo Alto, great name there. CrowdStrike. So we're getting some software bumps in some spots and others downside. And then, of course, man, one of our good buddies there gave me a shout yesterday and said, wow, thanks for all the money on JP Morgan. And I said, you're welcome, man. This is a Katina Wilson Capital play. And we love some JP Morgan, man. We're still long at 230 on this name, and it is absolutely fire. Yeah, that friend of ours is invested like high up in Tesla, and I told him, you got to get some banks, and so he's into JP Morgan there, sub 300, I think 280 or something. So really happy with the way that price action is happening there. And then that's about, man, I mean, you know, some of the energy names, we can have a look at USO. They've been pretty good. XOM, CVX, ConocoPhillips as well, moving around. But the name that I actually meant to look at, and I forgot as I went on a little tangent here, was Palantir, just to see if there's any day two love for it. Yeah, we wrote down 159, bouncing off of 161 right now for PLTR. So maybe a little bit of a look here can be had on Palantir if we get into 160. But yeah, so far so good. Amazon, we are almost out of everything. Just waiting for it to do some sort of a move. 270, we said that we would get out once this 25 period started to level off a little bit, so that's why we get some unders there. Maybe we'll take another bid here as it gets over. There we go, we'll take a 55, and now we'll see if it wants to call back in. But 277, let's just put that as our out, 277.001, so we cannot lose, obviously, on that one, as we have under 10% left of Amazon, but so far so good.
Yeah, and there's Gabby, a few people in the chat mentioning some of these breakouts as the market's going lower. I don't see IBIT as a breakout. You said it's a clean break from VWAP, but the breakout would be at the high and then again through like 37. This is an area, $64,500 on IBIT has been a wall almost every single day in one direction or another, whether it's support, whether it's resistance. Like, it gets there and it tends to turn almost every single day. So when you zoom out, you can sort of see, like, it's some kind of a pullback, some kind of reversal. So I don't think we're necessarily done with that one just yet. And what is going absolutely ham, silver seems like it's on a bit of a, like, this is parabolic in some ways. There haven't been any red candles. This is going to top and tail, hopefully, and give a dip to jump back into that. That's a big one for sure. And as long as we keep trending down in USO, I think that's going to be a play. SMCI, for all the strength that you saw back in the chips, this just double bottomed, and it looks like it's going to hold under VWAP. Almost more importantly, underneath the prior close. So that was the flat bottom break at about 31.35. Where would I be wrong if this thing's a short? 31.40. Right? Like, if it breaks out above that price and starts putting in higher lows, then I know you're no good. So this one still sets up for a bit of a fade. So we're going to jump into this one next. Ideally, and let's be real, we got to talk about the names that you guys are interested in. AMD starting to pull back. It tagged 500. That looks like a reversal candle to me. Remember, this was the big earnings report, them and SpaceX, and obviously it wasn't received well by the market. If the dip buy dries up here, you have a very inside day with the market. And AMD heading back, there's only so much that Nvidia can do sentiment-wise, as that still looks pretty strong. But there was positive Nvidia news, which was negative for AMD, with Elon going all in. So there's a little bit of this playing out, I think, in the market. Each semi's doing their own thing. That's why I don't really care that Nvidia is going higher if we're going to trade some SMCI. But just got to be worried. Look what this thing did at 140. It's wild what stocks can do without news. So you got to be careful. Like when it breaks a resistance, you just got to be able to get out. Like that was a good short in the morning as well. But the second it took out that top, it went $2 in like an hour and a half on no news. Pure technical break on SMCI. That's why I like the gap fill.
All right. Yeah, I mean, we saw Dell making some huge moves there today as well. What's up to everybody, man? Let's do a little bit of a roll call, see who's here with us and who isn't. Again, we could call it up. Andre, I'll give you a second to get that loaded. But we have Spencer is here as well. There we go. Casey, their Monarch is here, who says Discovery. Andrews Chow's here. MF Dane Generous, yo. Thanks for all the nice talks on Twitter, Dane, as we continue to push that forward. There's Ruslan is here. Byron, what's going on with the little ghost emoji there? Brooke Trades, what's up, Jin? There he is. What's up, Jin? Good thing you're here as well. OG Darth Trader there. Dino's here. RQN Money, thank you so much for joining us every day. Gwarev, thank you again. Is there Oakman, Holly NYC. Just loving how everybody's coming back every day. Los Polos Hermanos, West, y'all. Thank you so much for your joining us here as well. Austin Clark, Old Wise Trader, I think that's me. Barton, there he is, thanking God for another day, and that is for sure. Big Scalp, what's up to you as well? Holla at your boy. Adams James Abroad is here as well. So thank you to everybody for joining us. We love shouting out everybody that trades with us every single day. That JLHL, I just saw you mention there, Adam. And yeah,
Another
there it
halt
is, man.
up.
Another halt up there today on JLHL. GFR mover, SPPL has halted. That first one that we had was YXT. That's been halting back and forth as well there today. But the new one is JL. It's not a new one, but the one that's been moving right now with 8 million shares is JLHL. AMIX from yesteryear. Another one today. No halts yet, but down 22%. And just trying to get its bearings on AMIX. Looks like 1450 maybe where VWAP is located. Could be something there. But yeah, so far so good. And in today's market. Well, there we go. We are out. Amazon kicks it out. So that's it, man. Ending that trade. It's a 2-for-2 kind of day. And I just hope that everybody else is having a good one. And the exploding cow money there. Shout out to Ozan as we keep on going. So far so good.
Yeah, I can't find a story for JLHL at all. Sorry. It's another Chinese ADR, it seems like, that just, not ADR, but just another Chinese company. With a low float that just wants to squeeze. Tap is 12.39 for all the small cappers, small cap traders out there. That just means the theoretical auction price, which is where it's indicating it's going to open up. It's already halted multiple times. My guess is it's not done. You've already got a couple. It might do 6, 7, 8. Sometimes you get a little bit of a settle down later on, but it doesn't really have any short-term levels that you can look at on the 15. It's really just about 13.75, had a long consolidation there, and then $23. So levels are a bit crazy when it comes to that one, that's for sure. But watch out. Again, it's going to go halt to halt. Looking at SLV finally starting to pull back in here a little bit as that comes back into VWAP. Looks to be able to pick it up. And then we'd mentioned SMCI. That just put in the lower high we wanted in front of VWAP. Going to bid down in the 80s and then look for more of a gap fill there. I had high hopes for digital brands. If it could have filled in the gap a bit more, but it couldn't. You really wanted this one to test where there was consolidation, like here, like 18 to 20 bucks. It actually bounced in front of this. The story is a weird one, and I think it's, let's be real. If some insider says they're going to buy a company that was $21 for $77 in cash, and the board's like, we're thinking about it, no one's taking it seriously or thinks it's real, and it's probably just for publicity, right? Like it gets people talking about it, it gets a bit of a pump, So I think any bounce is probably a dead cat bounce. No one seriously thinks this company is going for 77 cash or would not be trading here. Like, it's utter nonsense. But hey, man, they got a big bump in the stock. If that's all you have to do as an insider, that's a major shareholder just puts out that press release and it gets the stock to double in a matter of minutes.
It's crazy.
There's a word for that, but you know.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it's allowed to be
ends
done.
with Asian. It's not because if it's as long as it's a real bid, the dude probably knows people on the board. They're not.
I mean, I think they could if they just prove that someone was there with the bid, but I don't know.
But if the board was never going to accept it because they know it's fugazi.
It's almost like as if you're the president and you're selling tweets early on purpose. It's almost like that would be something. I mean, that would never happen, of course. Yeah, what's up, Lindenmeyer? I passed that message along. I do know that you've been here every single day and you're noticing something up with the stream. So we are looking at that as we speak. So thank you, Mr. Lindenmeyer, for being here every day and letting us know that, we're just looking at it. So I mentioned that the stream might be a little bit twitchy here today. We want to welcome everybody on Twitch, by the way, and on YouTube and TikTok and wherever you are enjoying the stream. We want to say thank you for coming back with us every single day. And, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Let's keep this momentum going. So SpaceX, I don't know. You mentioned some short levels. I didn't catch what they were. I don't know. But if you did, there might be somewhere around here, 115. Do you remember the levels you wanted to look short on SpaceX?
So the first level at which it didn't have resistance, well, it's 115, 216 is an area.
You're close. That's what I was saying. 116 has been the high.
The opening range is, look, for me, it has to have an entry set up. Like I'm not a line on chart, just automatic if it gets to the price kind of person. If it is upward trending when it gets to that level, it needs to break the trend, right? So here's SpaceX. Oh, that's your chart, not mine. Come to my chart for a second. No, it's the same chart. It's just I'm going to draw on it. That's why. If it gets to the level 115 to 116, so that's not as simple as, you just go short 115 then you're out at 116. No, because it doesn't necessarily always do that for you. But when it breaks the trend line, then I can look for a short. If it does an egregious topping tail candle, I can look for some kind of an entry. But that's the idea. And it's only doing so now, and it might not even break this trend. It could bounce higher and keep going and going and going. I'll use the example of Intel from yesterday, because yesterday Intel would get to a level, it gets to the 100, but see the topping tail candle, then enter. And then we do the same when it tries to take out 101, topping tail candle, break down, then we enter. And it does a double top. It never got to 102, wish it had, but it didn't. It does this top, then we jump in and we enter when it's breaking, and we just take the scalp trades. It's got to have an entry as well. VWAP's a little bit more standard one. As now the market's starting to head back just a teensy little bit, and it's 1020. So you wanted small caps. You're going to get a few more of them with Adara at the desk.
Yeah, we'll kick it off here with YXT. This is YXT.com. We've, of course, discussed this name. Could not find a catalyst on it, though. As Neil mentioned, we actually did have them announcing they regained compliance on July 31st. So on Friday, fairly recent, I guess. Your market cap, $32.35 million. Float, 4.6 million shares. Short float, very small, less than 1%. JLHL, the aforementioned halting runner. No news on this either. Julong Holding, this is I believe a Hong Kong name or China name. You've got $275 billion market cap, 1.28 million share float, so very small float, and a 24.6% short float to boot. Last but not least, of course, the name with the catalyst, the only name with the catalyst today is actually doing the least. You've got Vision Marine Technologies, VMAR. They announced that they were authorizing a share repurchase program to allow for more flexible capital allocation and long-term shareholder value, $5.14 million market cap. Float here of 6.4 million shares, 15.3% short float. Back to Sean and Neil. And stick with us, guys. At 10:30 a.m., we're going to be having Kevin O'Leary on with us.
Right.
I know I wrote down this a little. Yeah, shout out to Kevin. We'll hopefully have him come through. New position alert right now. The third one of the day. And it's Palantir. So right now we're long. We're only long in the money, about 15 cents here. So we're going to let this one try to get back up to the upside. I know I wrote down on the sticky note and on the Instagram and everywhere that we liked 159, but we'll take a 160 now. And there it goes, man. Let's go, man. We are really, like I said, man, really starting to read some of these levels now and the momentum that's in this market. We always talk about playing Momo, and there it goes, man. Instant, wow. Okay, Alex, thank you so much for coming through one more time right now live for us. And there it is. Now, we just put it on literally 2 minutes ago, and now it's a club member. So there it goes. Nice move up there on PLTR. Man, we're cooking today, guys. Absolutely cooking. There goes Palantir upside. Yeah, good look there. And just watched out for the sticky note, right? And just played the levels. So there it goes, man, 150. And as Neil said, it didn't necessarily get to 159, but you put on your hat there and take the long and watch the stock. And I know the stock, and it was a top one was my top stock yesterday. So we continue to look at that. Poor Lucid, man. We should still be in that, but we're not. So out of Lucid there. And again, the stop on Palantir, obviously was a break of 160. So that's starting to cook a little bit right now, up to 161 and change. I'm going to take another fill now at 161 and see if we can just let the rest go as we wait for some Palantir.
I'm on the offer of Lucid.
But by the way, AMD, like everything's cranking lower now. So
well,
AMD,
I don't know about cranking. It's heading.
Okay, Intel is getting going, that's for sure. This one cranking lower, down into the 200 period moving average right now, back to the open. So this is basically where I got long. So wow, man, we are now just really starting to get going, man, on our, wow, Palantir, sorry about this 50, but you're coming back because there it goes, man. It's another one there off of 160, a couple fills there long, and booyaka, another one, man. We took $2 on Amazon. We're doing it again right now here. I don't know if we're doing it again. We'll see how high this one can fly. But there goes Palantir, almost going to be that $2 mark. If we can get it up to the 200 period, that'd be great. But there's a nice out as we, again, playing the momentum to the long side. So here we go. We'll figure it out moving forward now. But there goes Palantir.
Yeah, Palantir's headed back up and SMCI is headed back down. The market is heading lower. This is worth a point because it's not necessarily tanking, but we did reject 30,000, which was the prior high. Overnight highs on the NASDAQ was 30,000. You've rejected it, but you've also held the low. I don't know why I have 29.9 marked off. It's probably an old level from way back in the day. It doesn't really make a difference, but it's at 30,000. If we close back above 30, that's actually pretty bullish there and putting in some higher lows. So I might, we didn't quite get the fill at the LOD, halfway, but not all the way. I'm just going to leave it in there. But as you mentioned for Lucid, like I'm actually still offering underneath the flat bottom break. For me, this may visually look like a profitable trade, but if I'm short at 707 with a stop at 20, that's 14 cents worth of risk, right? So when it's 10 cents in the money, I'm not taking most of it out. When it's 10 cents in the money, if I'm risking up there, right? Like at the end of the day, like I want it to go a little bit, sorry, that's more like 1-to-1. So it is 1-to-1 and I'm taking a third out, but I was holding for better than 1-to-1. I want 2, 3, that kind of an idea. But now I am short underneath the prior low. It just hasn't ticked me in. I might move to 80 from 84 and just start a little bit sooner because this stock is still going down. Like I don't see any reason that there isn't a secondary leg down into 6.25. I might have even said there's room to 6.25 in the note to be real. So I think there's still an opportunity to be short this for a little bit more here. So yeah, SMCI looking LOD, but I want to get back into Lucid. This does not care what the market is doing. The market could blast and go 2% up, and Lucid probably doesn't care, which does make it a little bit easier to go back into the short.
Yeah, not probably. Yeah, for sure doesn't care. I would say.
Well, most likely doesn't care.
Yeah, definitely doesn't there. But yeah, good look. Just looking at the same kind of stocks again. We'll look at something else for you guys. XYT just halted again right there. So, another possible look here for XYT shareholders as that one halts. And we'll see. It halted at 685. Its tap right now is 680. So, relatively what it is right now. I only have 25% left of Palantir as we've been getting that out. That JLHL has reopened and, opens up at 12, goes to 13. I mean, this has been a great day for JLHL shareholders again as well. Nice move higher there as we continue to sort of watch out for these moves. We are moments away. We will be having Kevin O'Leary coming on the show, so lots of interesting stuff to talk about with him today. And of course, as we had posted earlier there, I actually don't even know if I posted it here, but we just did talk about a little bit about SpaceX. And yeah, there's that one. So we wrote it down early, right? Here's our sticky note. We wrote down SpaceX 110 long, looking for a potential bounce off of 110 area. And that's exactly what's happened there. That's 110. It basically just consolidated in the first 5 to 10 minutes, and then it just kind of took off from there. So that's what SpaceX looks like, and that's what we wrote down on the note. So I just want to go over before we call on Kevin, who's ready now, which is great. We always like it when, they're early.
Yeah.
So shout out to Kevin. Thank you for coming through. And there it is right there, man. I got a lot of love for SpaceX. We're going to find out if Kevin does as well. The last time he was on here, of course, was slightly before. And he was mentioning potentially not taking that early allotment. And we'll find out if that did come through. And then I do remember when Kevin said, is like, how is the broker going to tell me when to sell my shares?
Do what you want to do.
We'll hear what Kevin reacted to that was, because if you guys remember, I think we were all right about this, that there was going to be a retail sort of boon in the stock, and that's exactly what wound up happening. But
if you let the broker bully you into saying don't sell,
well, no one's going to be bullying this guy over here. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you just got to do it. And the threat was, of course, and Kevin explained this, that hey, you do it this time, then no Anthropic for you or no OpenAI for you. Well, I don't. We'll see if they hold on to that thought. But I was going to say, when my daughter's hockey coach is messaging me, asking me about this IPO, and I've never talked stock with him before, then yeah, I mean, maybe there is a little bit of retail excitement into the name. But today, off for earnings, hey man, well traded, I think. The fact is, the lockup is going to be happening the next couple of days, the unlocking. So we'll find out where that goes. But there it is, man. We wrote down 110. Congratulations to all, and to all a good night on that trade. Now 650 in the money, but we are going to go over to Adara right now and welcome a good friend, a longtime friend of the show, Mr. Wonderful. It's Kevin O'Leary with Adara.
As always, it's very exciting to have with us today Kevin O'Leary, chairman of O'Leary Ventures and Beanstalks, of course, also an actor and a good friend of the show. Good morning, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, great to have you on. I mean, I know Sean teased up the SpaceX talk, but I'd like to get right into SpaceX here. We had you the day before the IPO. We're having you on again now the day after their first earnings report. There was a lot of attention, of course, on this slightly lower than expected Starlink subscriber number, the CapEx. They also had strong year-over-year growth across every segment. So, I mean, pretty mixed report here. What stood out to you from this report, if you've had the chance to go over it? And what are you looking for from SpaceX just as a company going forward from here?
I don't think looking at a quarterly earnings on SpaceX is how the market's going to treat this stock at all. I mean, overhanging it, or maybe you want to call it the upside at this point, is the combination eventually with Tesla for the robotics piece and the autonomous driving cars and all the rest of it. This idea of Elon aggregating his empire and putting it all together, and that does make sense. So, in some ways you could be long Tesla here and have more of a substantive earnings company and just wait to be acquired by SpaceX. And again, I'm speculating on that. But going into the deal, regardless how you felt about it, I did not participate in my allocation for reasons discussed earlier. The threat, even though it wasn't really policy, if you want to call it that, or a covenant at all, was you had to hold on to it. You didn't have liquidity. I never investigated that. Just the odor of that idea would put me off any deal, because the key to actually putting on positions is liquidity. I mean, that's the whole thing. And if you felt you didn't have it, anyways, at the end of the day here, SpaceX right now is a telco company, and it's driven by what's going on with Starlink, which is an innovative product. There's no question about it. But you knew that going in. You knew that was basically the biggest asset in terms of generating any kind of revenue. But it's the long-term vision you're buying into here. Now, as it sort of bounces around this 110-ish down from the 135, starting to look interesting. Have not put it on yet. There are no covenants around liquidity now, although you do know the lockups are coming or being released. And so, but I think the market has that built in. So the flush out, if you want to call it that, that's going to occur over the next 30, 60 days is probably built in around this 110 down to 100 range. And then you can, in my view, the way I look at it is maybe we start to build a position here.
Yeah, I mean, I thank you for going over that. I think certainly something to watch here for SPCX. I want to talk to you next about another really big story for the market last week. Seeing a lot of people talk about this on social media with Leopold Aschenbrenner and situational awareness, basically Aschenbrenner having to sell his public holdings to Citadel. I think this is, obviously a lesson here about risk management and leverage and margin. But as someone who's been around the markets for a really long time, I'm curious as to what you think could be the biggest takeaway from this kind of story. And do you think we're going to be hearing more blowout stories like this over the next couple weeks and months?
Well, if you look at Citadel's track record, which is, by the way, phenomenal, these were the guys that looked at let's go back and how this behemoth was created. Ken Griffith basically looked at Enron and said, I don't need to buy the company, I'll just buy the people. And basically what he did. And so he did an asset purchase, including the people's assets, and he built a behemoth empire now. And so he's a very smart investor. And if you think about, well, of course, in Enron's case, it was fraud, but what their team does, it would seem, looking at it from an outsider's perspective, is they sniff around for margin exposure. They sniff around for over-leveraged situations. And they wait and they watch. And, the biggest killer of value is an over-leveraged situation. It's just because you don't know what you don't know. You're levered up. I don't care what the company is. I don't care what sector it's in. Primarily, this occurs in real estate development, where you go over 50% loan to value on a very optimistic view of what your building's worth while you're building it or when you're trying to stabilize it. And then the markets don't play in your favor. You get crushed. Your equity gets wiped out. And it's the next buyer, in this case, the Citadel, that accrues all the value. So the lesson to investors is leverage. Leverage is not always your friend. You've got to use it sometimes, but you should lose a little bit of sleep anytime you put any position on with more than 30% leverage.
Great takeaway. Before we send you over to Sean and Neil, who I know have a lot they want to discuss with you, last time I was here with you in December of 2025, you were here with the CEO of BitZero Holdings, Mohammed Bakashwain. So do you have any updates here on BitZero that you'd like to share with us in the 8 months or so since we've discussed it fully?
Well, I think what's happened in the market entirely in this whole sector is energy has become the common denominator. And so if you think about the lowest cost of energy on Earth, let's look at the pecking order. And let's talk about it in the sense of kilowatt hours, because that's what data centers are built off, the cost of a kilowatt per hour, or storage, or cloud, or digital payment systems, or even cryptocurrencies. It's all, what is the cost of the power? So the lowest cost of power on Earth is 1 cent a kilowatt hour in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, they have an abundance of oil and gas in that region, and so they really benefit from incredibly low cost. But in terms of investing $16 billion in a data center, I don't think people would do that right now in that region for obvious reasons. And so when you start to look around the world, who's got the power at underneath the 6 cent a kilowatt hour metric? I mean, that's the hurdle. I mean, in the US, 6 to 8 cents is kind of what you pay for power. Canada, 3 to 4 cents, so Canada has a huge advantage. But the Nordic countries, 3 cents, 2.5 cents, that kind of thing. So if your theme about digitization or AI or any of it, the way I would look at it and the way I look at it as an investor is show me companies that are managing power. And in doing so, at sub 6 cents a kilowatt hour. And so that position, I'm just one investor. I mean, BitZero story has always been we have low cost power, and I think they've shown that to the market, and they're doing quite well, I understand. So at the end of the day, think what's happened in the last 2 weeks. You've got a moratorium in New York on all data centers. Texas just announced moratorium on any data center that wants to draw off the grid. And so all around North America, we've run out of power. And so you're looking for companies, if you're putting them into your portfolio, that get power at sub 6 cents a kilowatt hour, because they're going to service everybody. Digital payments right through data centers, cloud support, AI compute, all that stuff. That's my investment theme. And so that kind of falls into the way I look at it. Show me the power. That's the new thing in North America.
I like that. Show me the power. Thank you so much, Kevin, for these questions. I'm going to send you over now to Sean and Neil, who I'm sure have a lot they want to pick your brain on.
Thank you for coming on through, Kevin. I actually, on the show me the power thing, I like that, because we've been talking about, power. That's what Caterpillar had some great earnings, and their business is completely different from what it was before. I feel like, can we snip that and maybe have, when the stock's going crazy, we get Kevin with "show me the power"
Well, the thing
and the
is,
stock's going nuts?
we-
I love that saying.
And plus, Kevin, I need something like, because you told us the cash flow, and then you just dropped the leverage thing. So I got to have something fun about the whole leverage thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whatever investors are learning is there's two valuations, and I think the guys, when you talked about SpaceX, this was important. If you are offered a position and it has all kinds of covenants on when you can sell it, that's a lack of liquidity. And for me, what that means, just to give you an idea of how when people approach me with companies on a pre-IPO round and they say, look, there's a 6-month lockup, I want a 30 to 50% discount off the price.
Right.
And I think you've learned that lesson in terms of the perception around SpaceX. If you thought that you were going to be locked up, you should have taken 30% off the price, and that's kind of what the market did. And so here you are at 110, 100, whatever, it's going to bounce around. Because you've got a whole bunch of pent-up selling. You had a bunch of institutions that didn't participate in their 3 to 5% allocations because they didn't like the price or because they didn't like the lockup or a combination of both. And so now the true market is flushing out what that level should be. Liquidity is everything in an investment, and particularly one that has leverage on it. And so, listen, this is the whole deal. And right now, as rates are, been bouncing around, I mean, we had a big sell-off in terms of rates on the short-term side of treasuries in the last 48 hours. That's healthy because of this potential new deal, whichever version of the deal it is in the Middle East. But if rates creep up on you and you're levered, bad things happen.
Kevin, I wanted to ask you if you don't mind sharing, because the last time you were on the show, we did talk about that whole, the broker tying up the account there. And did you wind up taking any allocation at 135? And what your plan of action? It's okay if you don't want to answer that, but just, we know your strong feeling on that and agree with you. A lot of these IPOs don't even see the light of day until a few years after they've even listed, right? So take a look at Palantir. It took them a while to finally get going. But did you follow through with that play there on SpaceX? Are you staying away? Are you looking at some of the levels now?
I never took the allocation because I didn't understand the covenant. I don't know whether it was imputed, suggested, or actually written. I never bothered to even look because I said I'm going to pass. I haven't taken on any of it yet. I do want to, though, because I do believe that there is going to be a play on Tesla.
Okay.
And so the question for me is, do I go in with Tesla or do I go in with SpaceX?
Neil and I actually looked at each other and said that was actually a really good sort of theory right there, because play the name with Tesla. If there's eventually going to be a merge, it's playing with the devil that instead of, I don't know what that's saying.
And it would be SpaceX acquiring them, which I saw one analyst write some ridiculous, like you could get a great premium on Tesla. So if you buy the dip there, you're getting a company you might already like without having to do the guesswork. And it comes down to, like, nobody knows how likely it is to happen, but so many people that claim to be insiders say, oh, this is for sure. I hate to put you on the spot with a percentage, but how likely do you think it is to happen, a merger?
Well, I'm speculating like everybody else. I don't know. But, if you think about the leadership of both these companies and even the engineers, if you talk to people in Austin, Texas, they're stealing each other's engineers all the time. Tesla guys go to SpaceX, vice versa. That happens a lot. If you are an engineer graduating from mechanical or electrical or any kind of data science, this is, for recruiters, I mean, everybody wants their stint with Elon. That's kind of what the buzz is with young engineers, and you want the smartest. And he's fallen behind a little bit on AI models, so he's got a lot of different balls in the air. But when it comes to the next gen of computers and robots and self-driving cars and AVs, I mean, I see that combo being 50-50. I mean, I think there's a 50% chance. This is total speculation on my part. I don't have any insider information. But I think the market would bet it's 50-50. Probably the best way to do it is to go look on Kalshi, the predictive markets, Polymarket, every day and say, when is this going to happen? Because they'll probably get it right.
You never bet against a predictive market.
How about that, Kevin? What about if Kalshi or Polymarket, and I know ICE, Intercontinental Exchange, is an investor in Polymarket as well. We, heard a famed investor, Michael Burry, also looking at that market. That might be something that on an IPO we get involved in. My only hesitation there, of course, is the legal aspect of it, right? Eventually, does it get legislated to they're only allowed to provide certain things, and then what states are allowed and all that kind of stuff? Does that sort of interest you at all, the Polymarket, Kalshi sort of predictive betting environment?
They do actually, but as you pointed out, New York has already brought forward the complaint. And that's a major state.
Yeah.
So I would like to see how that's going to get resolved, because, when you think about what happened to the gambling stocks, the highly regulated gambling stocks, state by state in the U.S., there was a lot of optimism around the valuations on those private companies about what they were going to be worth long term. And then the story emerged about customer acquisition costs being really high. And so a lot of these guys were competing with each other by giving you a free $100 or a free $200 to bet on. And then out of nowhere comes predictive markets, the Kalshis and the Polymarkets, without any regulation. And I'd argue that the private valuations of those gambling stocks got slaughtered. And I don't think they're coming back, because if you look at the actual use of Kalshi, it's sports betting.
Yeah.
With unregulated sports betting and every form of betting. You want to bet on the next pass, whether the receiver catches it, what the defense is going to do in the next play. All of this stuff is bettable. And so, because it's unregulated, I remember I wanted to try it when I was going to walk the red carpet for Marty Supreme. I wanted to bet that Chalamet would win the Oscar, against most people saying he wouldn't. So I went on to Kalshi. I was able to set it up in 5 minutes online, linked it to my account, put $3,000 down, and lost it immediately.
Oh, okay. We'll see you later.
It was the ease of use, though.
Easy come, easy go. By the way, congratulations on the success, of course, of that film. You were fantastic in it, and we talked about it last time. Looking for now you've become.
What's the next project going to be?
Now you're just sifting through, right? You want high quality scripts, like you found one there with Marty Supreme, and so a big congratulations.
I just turned down another one last week.
Tough
I liked
life.
it, but the thing is, for me, acting, I love it. And I got to do another film because I really loved it, but that's not my real gig, and it eats up a lot of time. So I want to find a project that's no more than 3 weeks. In
and out.
Because I got a lot of stuff on my plate, so I can't just disappear.
How many seasons is Shark Tank now? Is that 20 or?
Yeah, no, I just finished season 18 of Shark Tank, and I just got the news this morning. We've been nominated for an Emmy on September 5th. So very excited about that. And I got to get to LA on the 5th. That's going to be, I don't know how the hell I'm going to fit that one in, but I think we have a good chance. We had a really good season. And I love the platform. I mean, Shark Tank and the platform's on in 54 countries. Amazing. It's a global passport for me. So that takes a lot of time. We shoot that for weeks and weeks and weeks. And so, I got to put all that into keeping all these different balls in the air.
You know who actually loves that? Kids. I don't know if all kids love Shark Tank, but the format of it, like the pitch, the entrepreneurial, it's really great for kids. We always watched it on our trading floor.
Yeah, we used to watch it during lunchtime right here live on. Well, we watched.
My daughter's 9,
Dragon's Den.
and I'm like, watch these, because we watched them on YouTube, and she absolutely loves it. I have to ask you this question, because you talked about regulation. I'm like, it's been on my head for a second. I actually had this conversation with my dad. I had a conversation with a couple of friends of mine about this whole quarterly reporting thing. And I want to get your thoughts on it, because I know you know the markets pretty well. I can see both angles on it.
It's been ongoing now. It's been on for 3 years, this debate. Here's my view on it. More information is always better. Transparency is always better. When I was an operator in public companies, when I actually sat on boards or was an executive, we prepared our information accordingly. We worked to make sure that we gave as much information as we could, because we always found more is better. That includes the bad news. It's better to get it out sooner than later. You miss a quarter, whatever it is. But I don't like this idea of all of a sudden giving less information to me, because I'm just an investor now. I want more information, not less information. And then if you don't give out the information, then you get the insider leaks and all this other crap that you don't want. So I think it's a bad idea. I don't know who came up with it, but don't do it. And I think we're going to a place where, you know, we've got to change the regulations around being public, because less and less companies are going public because of what I'll call the pain in the ass factor. And so, you know, if you invest in a company, we talked about liquidity earlier, and you've been in the deal for more than 5 years, and I've got positions on like this, a secondary market emerges, but it's generally 30% to 40% less than the less round. So there you are, pricing in again evidence of what illiquidity costs. It's 30 to 40% of the last round value. So I have positions on that I could sell, but I got to sell them down 40%. Yeah. I'm not happy with that. I'd rather the company just go public and get price discovery and transparency on price discovery and liquidity and let the market decide. I think what we have to do, and I would argue this to the regulators in Canada and the United States, like, you've got too much regulation on these companies. Leave the laws in place about insider trading and all the rest of that, but don't over-regulate it so that it's so hard to be compliant that the company never wants to go public in the first place. That hurts the economy, and it hurts entrepreneurship, and it hurts small companies from turning into large ones.
I'm glad you made that point, because as traders, like, imagine what happens if SMCI doesn't have their reporting, and like how many times do you see there could be accounting scams, whatever it might be, but you can get rugged. That's going to be dangerous for investors. When we're democratizing investing, trying to get people more engaged with it, it's like the opposite of everything else that seems the direction that we're going. So I'm really glad you said that. I'm going to tell my dad you agree with me.
Always, yeah, get a little feather in the cap there. Kevin, let's have a little bit of fun right now. How exciting has the sports collectible market been for you? I'm seeing you on Instagram, and you're flashing all these cards. I mean, you've come on here before. We've obviously talked about timepieces and whatnot. But how much fun are you having with this collectible card thing? I mean, I'm getting back into it myself. I think there's a whole wave of interest now in sports cards.
Yeah, I got interested in it almost a year ago to this day, when I bought, as part of a syndicate of 3 buyers, a lot of these cards now that have gone past 10, 20, 30, 40 million in valuation are being bought by syndicates. Right. Because buyers are asking for diversification. So last week we picked up the Otani.
Yeah, I saw that.
For $11 million. Again, that was a syndicate of buyers. I'm a third of that deal. And the reason we're doing it, for me, is alternative asset class. I've looked at, I've looked since the late 90s. I've gone back, I've got a great analyst team, and we've looked at cards that were purchased in, let's say, 98 for, you know, $200,000 that are trading, at over 30 million today. Well, you didn't, the S&P didn't beat that. So, you got to think about where this fits in your portfolio. So to me, I'm trying to build out an index of maybe 10 to 20 pieces that are really piece uniques, sort of my same strategy in watches, and just let them bake in the oven. Just sit on them.
Yeah,
sit
why
on
not?
Them.
Why not?
Because if you just look at, rookie cards, when look at Jordan's, like right now, and look at, and he's still living. Look at Kobe's, and what they've done since his passing. I mean, it's an incredible market, and it's liquid. The one we bought for 12.9 last August, 12.93.
Such silly price.
Dual logo man Kobe Jordan.
Right.
That card is on Card Ladder this morning at 27 million, I believe.
Unbelievable return.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, Card Ladder is just one index of what it's worth. You don't have that liquidity until you sell it. But
Right.
I mean, I don't know another asset class. It's not, crypto didn't do that. The S&P didn't do that. Gold didn't do that.
Right.
So what's wrong with having 3 to 5% in this alternative asset class? But also, as you said, I just came back from Fanatics Fest. Talk about fun. It was insane in there.
Exactly.
Crazy.
Yeah, these people really get excited about everything. Are you a coffee or a tea drinker?
I'm drinking coffee, You know, it's funny, you keep getting these reports, coffee's bad for you, and then I just see another one says drink 5 cups a day and you live forever.
Yeah.
You know what? How about just be
But
happy?
I don't put anything in it. This is just pure black coffee, no calories.
That's the way to go.
Yeah.
Very, very healthy. This is longevity right here.
Yeah, there you go. I'll take a sip. I'll drink to that.
Well, we want to say a big shout out to Kevin O'Leary. Thank you so much for joining
Appreciate
us.
you, Kevin.
Anything, you speaking anywhere? You want anything where people can go?
Yeah, I'm on my way to Cleveland in about an hour to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Ooh.
Thinking of doing a jam there because tomorrow morning I'm doing a keynote on a very important topic that I think, you know, you kind of look at what corporations want in these keynotes and it gives you an idea of what's on investors' minds. This one is all about logistics because look what happened to the price of oil after this conflict started. And so oil is an input for all 11 sectors of the economy. It's energy. And if you didn't have a strategy, let's say you're an airline and you didn't hedge your jet fuel costs, you got slaughtered. So these guys are looking at AI, software, and analysis inside of the logistics and transportation markets. And I think it's fascinating. The amount of market cap that's going to be in that room tomorrow morning, every sector is interested in this. And so what it forces a guy like me to do is get my team to research it. And the data is incredible. The amount of, I don't know if you remember, 2001, a ship got stuck in the Suez Canal for 6 days. It went sideways on a windstorm. We now know that cost world markets and economies $9.5 billion per 24-hour cycle. And that was back in 2001.
Right.
Imagine if that happens again, Strait of Hormuz and all that. So it's really about logistics being turned into a model like AI to try and solve for those problems. Just another reason we're going to need data centers. It's all circular.
Let's not get into data centers here. We got lots to talk about on that front as well. But Kevin, you're a very busy man. We want to thank you for your time here today. It's Mr. Wonderful. It's Kevin O'Leary, a friend of the show. Just make sure the next time you're around, you come visit our studio.
Exactly.
We got some stuff to show you.
Have a great trip.
Take care. See you later.
Thank you, Kevin. Ciao,
Appreciate
ciao,
you,
ciao, ciao. There he goes. It's Kevin O'Leary. I mean, we always have.
Otani, man.
The thing is, I think you could throw anything, any question at him and, spits out that knowledge. So we want to thank Kevin for coming through on obviously a busy time for him there. And yeah, poor guy gets to go to Rock and Roll Hall of Fame there.
Yeah, that sounds pretty awful to me.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun there.
I can't. Who would possibly enjoy that?
Nobody. But yeah, thanks, Kevin, for coming through there. And yeah, that Shohei card and everything, man. I mean, I've been watching it. I think he's right, the consortium, right? Because no one's going to drop. Well, some people probably do.
Well, some people, of course, some people do.
But just de-risk a little bit and get in a third of it. So I like that move there. Shout out to Kevin and thanks for coming up, and a great job by Adair there, and thanks for throwing it over to us. We had a good time, but we don't sleep around here. Like as that was happening, we got out to some more Palantir as that just went for a run. And I did type in the chat that SpaceX up there at 116. I'm getting ready. I am ready to short it. I just never got filled. So as we talked with Kevin, we had some orders out right into here, and it just didn't give me the 116 that we were looking for. So now you're back into 114.50 potential short coming in for SpaceX off of 117 is a look that I'm going for right now with only 4 minutes until midday madness and XYT halted again.
Yeah, that stock is not going to stop halting.
I mean, it may not. It may not.
No, it's going to do like 30, probably 20 or 30 halts.
The trade here today, I think that should still be on. We already talked about getting stopped out a little bit there. It's a positive day on Lucid, but at the end, not for Lucid, but it was the number one idea. Join me on X on Instagram. As we mentioned, Lucid short $7. And look, we hammered it right here and made the money. And all of a sudden when it was breaking out, a couple outs right there, and then to stop out at the top of 720, and then the absolute move into the lows now of 660. So congratulations anybody that held on to this one for a long time. It was a good time, but you just had to hold on to it. So that's Lucid. And then we had Amazon, which was a great long. We actually did fine on the long, and then we reversed into the short. Turned out to be much better there. And then obviously the big trade right there for me today is another chicken dinner winner on Palantir. So we'll wait to see if that holds 160. But look at the market finally starting to come up with a day in the red potentially now for the NASDAQ off of what's been up 7% or something in 5 days for the NASDAQ off of some of those lows. So Yeah, maybe today.
It's holding the low though.
Yeah, it's doing great.
So I'm just going to quickly show you guys the NASDAQ and we'll get to that super chat. But we failed the highs. Now you're potentially bottom wicking the overnight lows, which is also in the aftermarket where the NASDAQ bounced, not the S&P. I know we say the market all the time, but the NASDAQ, there goes a trend break on SMCI. So for this super chat, Suim, I'm going to say, when you are trading a trend break, what time frame do you use? I use the 3 or the 15 because those are the two charts I look at. But that's like a trend break. You execute on the time frame that you like it on. There's trend breaks that happen on a daily chart that you could be swing trading because it happens on a daily chart or a weekly chart. But I reflected in that time frame. So like it's just the hilarious thing is right now SMCI is breaking the trend. What on a 3-minute, like it breaks the trend here. Like if I was going long, I'd want to be long there. Like somewhere as it's breaking that prior bar for the trend at about 30.75, and then I traded off of the 3-minute from that standpoint. But you could also look at a trend on a 15-minute time frame, and then have your targets and your entries based on a 15-minute chart. You might hold it longer because it's on a 15. It's just whatever you find. So I have a 3 and a 15. That's just what I like to use. I did get out of SMCI in the short. I was actually thinking about if it held the trend line here, I was probably going to go back into the short, but now all of a sudden it looks like a bit of a long, so I'm going to wait for that volume weighted average price for sure. And then we get another super chat. If SpaceX breaks under 100, my kids won't be eating. Well, that sucks. Well, you
saw a while before that, so just get some food in their bellies right now. Cook up some rice and some pasta, and have that for a couple minutes because it does look like that SpaceX potentially may be going into those
lock
levels.
Up tomorrow.
But what you're not too worried about there is Apple. I mean, we talked about that, trying to get a little bit more into the Apple. Into the portfolio there. We did not buy any more Apple, but that is on one right there to the upside. Apple from 306, man, at 10:30, right when Kevin came on. Apple 306, now 311, $5 straight upside there in one of the strongest names right now, anyways, obviously not in the market today. We have, our watch list kicking out here today. If we sort of zoom out, on the bigger market. Shopify, I said to Neil today when I logged out, I should just sell this thing immediately, and that would have been a great move. It's fallen back in about 10% there today. Shopify still up 17, so we like that. Silver up 5, gold up 4, so those have been good ones. Eli Lilly even pulled back. I mean, the market's doing this, so some of these pullbacks make a little bit of sense there today. We talked about Disney a little bit there. Kevin on ABC. Of course, with Shark Tank. And then there's SpaceX leading the way. Was no surprise there. The only thing that I think is surprising people is that it's up $5 from that 110 area. So that's a good little move there. Also still down 8%. AMD now back to earth a little bit, down 7 again as that had a nice move up. The name that I should not be in any longer, Uber, that's down 5. DraftKings, we talked about a little bit of that with Kevin as well. ARM, SMCI, Marvell. So some of the unwind is happening. Very small though today. Like Marvell was up 12, 13% when it wants to go. We'll take it down 2% day. That is for sure. But yeah, good day overall here today. I hope you guys enjoyed the last half hour.
Absolutely.
It's been a banger first couple of hours.
It's already 11 o'clock too. Now the thing about Shopify, it's now just dead sideways too. Like there was one shot for it to bounce, but this goes back to like having an entry and having an idea. Like when it got to 143, it does a bottoming tail candle, bounces off 142.50. Right? But if you say, okay, 143, I'm just going to go long somewhere in front of 143, put a stop at 143, then it kind of runs you out. But it does that bottom tail, but it's doing nothing. If it just goes sideways, holding that support line, there can be a secondary play here because it's in an all-morning trend that, in theory, has broken, but it's just not doing anything with that just yet. So we'll see. Do like some IBIT. I don't know if we'll get back into Bitcoin. But Bitcoin didn't get to VWAP while we talked to Kevin. It got so close, but that's a nice looking bull flag. The market looks weak. IBIT looks strong. This is a potential breakout and then room to 36.8, which is like 65,000, in front of 65,000. But it's 11 o'clock. Your favorite JLHL will be in play. The YXT, yeah, they're both halted right now. Both those two names are halted. So it's likely to be a midday halt fest. Over there. We know what Sharif will be looking at, but we'll find out what Joey Options is interested in as well. We'll see you back at 2 o'clock. I want to thank you to Kevin for sure, and Luis as well should be stopping through because Luis, he comes in the morning. You'll see him again in a couple of hours. So enjoy, and we'll see you at 2.
See ya.
Oh, I'm not even plugged in.